Okay, thank you for joining us. This is April 30th, 2019 at the William Belden Training Room. Under announcements, I have a bunch. So number one, water and sewer bills and real estate quarters is ready, due May 1st, which is tomorrow. So for those of you that haven't, please do. Number two, the Governance Committee is going to have a discussion on May 8th at 6 p.m. Chris Smith has asked us to announce this, that they will be discussing the do's and don'ts of a 3 to 5 member board. Anybody interested, please attend. Number three, annual town meeting is May 14th, 7 p.m., Smith Academy. Hope you can attend. And a special treat each year is May 15th is the band concert at Smith Academy. That's always a great function to go to. Hope you can make that. May 21st is your elections, and May 26th is Memorial Day. So we're going to be moving right along after announcements, because I know Brian's got to skip out at 6:25 to attend another meeting. Then maybe he'll be back for the Finance Committee. That will be here at 6:30. Those are my announcements. Do you guys have any announcements?
I have none, thank you.
No, Memorial Day was the only one I was concerned about.
Okay. All right. Public forum. Is anybody here for public forum? Okay, we'll move to approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 6th, 2019.
Motion made, and I'll second it.
Okay, like
Motion
discussion.
made. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Okay. On paragraph 8, okay, where it says, Selectmen Warrior, he said this is a violation of open meeting law, a perfect example of the necessity of going from 3 to 5 on a member board. And my concern was that if someone's going to make accusations, I felt that the other side should be there, because I did respond to that. So I just thought it would be more balanced. I asked 2 or 3 times if I could respond to the allegation, and at that point the chair had chosen to take a break. So I would just like, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to show that it just wasn't silence and accepted. I asked several times if I could respond to the allegations, but at that time the chair broke for a break.
I'm not sure where you're referring to.
Paragraph 8 on page 2.
Page 2.
I would just like to show that there was
The
response.
third
that wasn't
paragraph on
expected.
page 2.
Okay, where it starts Mr. Joseph LaValle?
No, it's the 8th paragraph
so.
on page 2.
Oh, 8th paragraph on page 2. I
Yes,
thought you
ma'am.
meant from the first page, okay.
So I would just like that added. It's, I'm sure you could see it on the tape.
Okay. So Key can
Thank you
make that
very much.
adjustment.
Anything else? No
Nope.
minutes? Okay, motion made, motion seconded with changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, okay.
Motion to approve the minutes of April 3rd, 2019.
Second that?
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Post this business, one thing we have to get going on is to review our annual town meeting warrant articles, and we have to try to make sure we approve them for tonight, because town meeting is coming up fast and furious. So last meeting we went through 10, I believe. I was reminded of, and let's see where we're at here. Let's see, we went through page 1, page 2, and we sort of got through to Article 10, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
We're still waiting for some numbers to come in here on these articles, Marlene?
No, I've gone and, I've actually just renumbered the warrant articles yesterday because I had stopped numbering them. So there really hasn't been, there's been a few changes with regards to the zoning bylaw amendments to the zoning bylaws. There's 4 articles. There were some
Right now we're
changes
at
there.
Article 11, so.
So under Article 8, I did plug in some numbers. We didn't have those last week. And so we
And
left.
those are for information at this point? We'll
Ye-
actually put those into the
yes.
motion the night of town meeting?
Correct.
When we read
Correct.
the motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Article 11, we started to talk about that last week.
We did. So I guess all I want to personally about Article 11 is, has to do with the snow and ice budget, which traditionally we've just had taken off the recap sheet as our free cash is, as we're made aware of free cash, so.
Right, we've added,
Yeah,
added
so
that number.
we've
to
never
it.
used an article in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm fine with just continuing it the way we've always done it and just have it be, part of the recap sheet, since it's the only expense that we can actually pay in deficit. And I know we have this conversation every year, snow and ice, we never know in advance, obviously, how much it's gonna, how much
only-
the expenses are, so.
My only concern right now is that, we need to catch up with fiscal year 19.
Right.
Balancing it, and I don't know that we'll really
Have an
have a
amount.
good number, we'll be in a good place.
Which is why we.
At town
correct,
meeting.
Right.
So maybe it is best to just defer that until
So
later
we
in
know
the year.
a more concrete
Right.
number,
Right.
since
Yeah,
bills
maybe
are still
for now,
coming
we
in.
keep it as we did it in the past, and then we can discuss it this year if
On
we
the
want to
recap.
change it.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it, so we don't mess things up, because maybe that's the way we should do it. We'll have a discussion later this year about
Yeah.
what to do about it. That'd be my opinion.
Is the accountant is recommending changing it, however? Or no?
No, it's entirely up to the Board of Selectmen.
He doesn't have a recommendation? then?
He's saying, that typically it's done at a town meeting, but it doesn't matter. It can be reported on the recap sheet. And what I'm saying is, we don't know what our deficit is right now. Phil just said to me some invoices were just submitted, winter and ice.
Plus, we know that next
snow and
year, the
ice
books are going to
invoices
be a
were
lot
just-
different, because we've done a lot of work getting the books all
Right.
in order. They're just about all in order now, so our next cycle should get us more accurate information.
Marlene and I had a conversation today about putting it on a recap sheet or putting it on an article, and because our town meeting is in May, there might be some lingering snow and ice invoices still coming from a vendor that will not make it onto the article, and then what are you gonna do? You have to have another special town meeting to pay it. So if you just wait, because this is gonna give you, at least, I don't know what we said, but until it goes onto the recap sheet, you're gonna get extended time to, have fine.
unpredictable weather in April.
So you could
So-
get
Have
ice.
that.
Right, and then we have to go out and treat the roads, and there's an expense that you didn't expect,
Right.
So do I get a consensus that we want to keep it the way it is and have another discussion that,
Yeah, I think that's
so-
Okay,
fair.
so
I think
we'll
it makes sense.
strike that article. So Article 12,
it's self-explanatory for the most part, right?
yeah.
Yep. Well, I think we should just say it out
So what
loud.
it
So you
is.
want to just kind of say the heading of them, or, so Article 12 has to do with the town discussion on the Board of Selectmen moving from 3 members to 5. Article 13 is for the town to let the Board of Selectmen go into pilot agreement with Select Energy, which is the company that's going to be putting the solar on Smith Academy, reducing the costs to the schools and the town for electricity. Article 14, the Board of Selectmen entered a 10-year contract with the Mass DEP. This has to do with recycling services, right?
Now, you guys are in the presence of working on that contract, right? Is that right?
Well, that DEP's put that out to bid, the services out to bid.
Correct.
And I believe,
The recommendation came from Mass DEP to have that, if you have an annual
Yeah.
town meeting in May, to put it on there.
Because it becomes effective automatically
yeah,
after town meeting, then you'd have to have
Yeah. I
another
believe
town meeting.
bids
if I
are
read
due
that
in May.
correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do want the people to know that down the road, recycling may change, because presently, we're not getting what we used to get for recycling, and a lot of it is due to the tariffs with China, so they're not buying the recycled products. They've gone to India to buy the recycled products, so
That is correct.
that, everything we could be paying instead of,
From receiving
money.
$20+ a ton, you're down to 8, so who knows? It might end up costing you money to recycle.
Article 15 is a housekeeping. It's what to Mass General Laws 200A, allowing the town to adopt a policy in accordance with the Town of Hatfield Financial Policy Manual. This is, Sharon, this was through you, right, on this article?
Regarding the uncashed checks.
Article 15, that was recommended in our financial policies.
Yep.
The treasurer set out a policy for managing uncashed checks. And we've talked about
Yep,
that
exactly.
previously.
Okay. 16, adopt the provisions of Mass General Laws 48J for the purpose of establishing a municipal commission on disability or take any action thereof. This was a requirement that's the state's
Well,
requesting.
right, the state has asked us to look at accepting that.
And
That
if the
certainly
article
will help
passes,
us.
we would be asking for how many people on this board?
I believe it's a 7-committee board, or seven-member committee.
Is it comprised of certain backgrounds on a committee?
You have to have a disabled person on the committee. Susan Shaw. Looking for the number of people.
No, we can,
But anyhow,
Yeah,
if this
I-
article
We'll have it
passes,
for that
then we'll
night,
be
but,
establishing
yeah.
a committee,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, that's fine, we'll have more
Oh, 5 to
information.
9. 5 to 9
okay,
members.
So, down the road, we'll have to.
I think 5 would be sufficient for Hatfield.
So Article 17, see if the town will vote to adopt Mass General Laws, Chapter 32B, to create a trust fund for other post-employment benefits with government accounting standard boards, and this is all part of the, this was part of what? This was part of the health, or adoption of 32,
No. This one wasn't the OPED stuff, the part of that Gatsby stuff?
Oh, this was another recommendation in the financial policies.
Yeah, this is part of an audit we
Right.
have to have done.
all right. So on the financial policies, this was what the state is asking us
To create a trust fund.
Okay. And Article 18 is a petition, and it shall the town, in addition to the payment of 50% of premium for contributory group life and health insurance for employees in the service of the town, and their dependents pay a subsidy or additional rate. So this article is sort of saying they want the town to have, I guess the board, give the board the permission to increase health insurance, correct? It doesn't give an amount or a percentage, it just says that
just the authority.
the
to-
authority
Right.
to
The Board
the
of
board,
Selectmen
right?
to grant them the authority to go above 50%.
Now, are these articles all by majority, or is there 2/3 on so far, up to Article 18? Are they all majority vote, or?
A good many of them are. Zoning bylaw changes, I believe, is a 2/3 vote. I will be inserting that in the
Okay.
articles.
And Article 19 is the revolving fund. That's just something we have every year.
Article 19 is a new thing we're
That's a
adding.
new one for the
It's
tax
a new
title,
one, right?
yeah.
Tax
New one for
title?
tax
Title, right.
It would be an additional revolving fund, you're right. to-
That's right.
to
We
the
have
ones
other
have, but
revolving
this would be a
funds.
new
This is a
one, right.
new one.
And Article 20 would be to see if the town will vote to amend Article 7, Section 7.03 of the Town of Hatfield bylaws. Now, this was submitted by the tax collector, or for the tax collector.
So any department, board, or committee issuing permits or licenses may contact or should contact the collector's office to inquire about any outstanding taxes. Previously, the law stated that it had to be greater than 12 months. This change under the Municipal Modernization Bill allows a municipality that accepts this to receive that information, to ask from the collector's office if there's anybody that has outstanding taxes less than 12 months.
So that also applies if somebody hasn't paid their licenses for establishments, is that correct too? That we can request and see if people have paid for the licenses and stuff like that before we allow the license to be renewed?
Well, before it's renewed, right, before it's renewed, they would have to pay or make some kind of an arrangement.
Okay.
Well, it also gives us lets the tax collector see if there's any sort of if there's another license, a second license that somebody's asking for, to make sure the first one is up to date. That's really where this is going to apply, so that we're not granting licenses of some sort to someone who owes us and has an outstanding cost, that needs to be paid, so.
Now, Article 21, we're getting into the zoning bylaw
The next
article.
4 articles are all zoning bylaw
And my
changes.
understanding is our planning board went through a whole process for the past year, working with Pioneer Valley to go through our bylaws and redevelop them or check them or fix them or take care of them. And this is the result from a year or so of work by the board. And this is what their requests are. So I'm assuming the board will be present to explain any major changes on these articles.
The planning
at
board
town
chair will
meeting.
be present at town meeting.
Yeah, because there's a few in here that were brought up for questions, so I guess the town can, there's a lot, so.
25 pages worth, Mr. Chairman.
Unless you want to read all of Article 21.
That would only be a quarter, that would only be 5 pages. It's
Article
rather
20
lengthy, and
yeah.
of course it has to be, because they have to
Right.
spell out every single
Right.
piece of the legislation. But in fact, yeah, it's an awful lengthy article.
Article 21 addresses open space.
Hey, Sean,
Article 22
how are you?
addresses the floodplain overlay district so that it not mirrored after the state, but we needed to make sure that they were updated pursuant to the state's guidelines.
And 23 is the
Article
development sites.
23 is right, accepting Chapter 43D expedited permitting and designating a priority development site.
And we sort of want that article because that can help us with applying once again for that sewer extension on West Street. So
And
this
the
was-
town did start the process a few years ago, and then it just,
We're kind of buttoning
With-
it up at the recommendation of the meeting we had after the Mass Works grant, when the chairman and vice chairman came out from Boston to sort of review our application, and then made the recommendation that it just helps. It's another
Does.
feather in our cap as a community if 43D is on the books and up to date when they're reviewing the applications, so.
yeah.
And Article 24
Or
is...
that's
uh,
accessory
Go back to
apartments.
23, just a second.
Okay.
Because, excuse me, Marlene, you said that had come up before. It sounded familiar when I went back, and it looks like it was on the warrant for the 2014.
2014? Correct.
Yes. And it looks like, was it voted in at that point?
It was voted, but it wasn't voted, it became invalid. It wasn't a valid vote because we didn't follow the process as it appears here in this warrant article.
Okay, so
It was just a straight
wasn't
to
approved at
accept-
that time at all?
It was voted in the affirmative, but it wasn't done correctly.
I see. Okay.
According to PVPC, there's other
Steps,
Process.
steps to
you
take
know,
or whatever, okay.
if you look at Article, it's 20, what do we say, 23, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what the town should have done in 2014.
Okay. Okay, so it's not a repetitive then, this is?
It's not,
Okay,
it's not.
thank you.
And 24 is dealing with regulations of accessory apartments, et cetera, et cetera. 25 is community preservation. And that's reserves, moving their reserves money around.
Pretty standard for, a yearly,
It is.
yearly article for them.
And 26 is to have CPA do 60,000 towards the public pavilion at Smith Academy Park. So that's to possibly get the pavilion built over there. 27 is to 30,000 for community preservation, historic research, Main Street Cemetery on Billings Way. 28, borrowing for construction of pavilion. And 29 is spending limits for the revolving fund, which is community gardens, DPW, motor grader, hazardous materials, tax title. And we do this periodically almost every year, right? Just, yeah. Article 30 is asking for money for the 350th steering committee. I don't have an amount on here.
It's 25,000 they're looking for. The
Okay.
motion will have that amount.
25,000. Article 31 is the treasurer.
This is to fund the unemployment fund. So typically, unemployment was part of the regular operating budget, and we appropriated the $20,000. However, we're not funding it through the budget process any longer. This is the correct way to do it. So we'll appropriate and transfer it into that fund, and that's $20,000.
Okay, 32 is from the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. Deals with cable, TV,
That's the
enterprise
budget,
funds,
the
water and
entire
sewer.
budget.
Give us all the money.
Okay. And 33 is your welfare of the town, right?
Yep.
I know you got to be running, so I guess we'll take this up before you run, unless anybody has any questions on these warrant articles.
No.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll be back.
Okay, so make a motion to accept. Is that what you want now?
I'll second, or I'll make
Based
the
on-
motion.
yeah.
Okay, motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
So be it. I know Brian's got to run, so.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's see, you're still waiting for Finance Committee, so we'll keep going until you guys are all set, all right? Topic 2 is the vehicle lease for ambulance wheelchair van. We did get some information from the school that this would be part of their budget, and the reasons behind it, it's not the transport just one child, it's the transport of few.
Preschool children.
So,
But I think that will be a discussion we'll have with Phil when the Finance Committee is here as well.
all right. So we want to wait for that discussion with the Finance Committee on the wheelchair. All right, okay, then I'll go to topic 3. Unfortunately, had a resignation from open space, and Jeff Hobbs is resigned from open space, so,
So there is a vacancy on the Open Space Committee if anybody's interested.
okay. And we'll send a letter of thank you to Jeff Hobbs for his time on open space. Phase 2 town hall renovations, we did have a little discussion with Historical Commission on moving stuff, so as it stands, they're going to get back to us on where they want to move the stuff, and our part was to try to find out some bids from a
To get
professional
quotes
mover.
for
and-
moving.
And
right.
so it's moving along, and hopefully bidding should be coming out in a few weeks.
It should be. I did have a conversation with one of the architects the other day via email, and they are pretty much wrapping up the bid documents. I requested the prevailing wages and forwarded that to them for the packet
Nice.
as well. So I expect that will be out to bid in the next couple of weeks.
That sounds good.
Okay. Um,
That being the town hall renovations project. I didn't say that.
So before we get in continued old business, we have any unanticipated new business?
I don't have anything.
because we can break for 5 and give the, do you have something?
No, before we break though, I was just thinking about, remember I said Memorial Day? And we talked about this, the 26th, and my concern was it is going to be at the park this year, right? Because remember we were in the
I
school
believe
last
so.
year, so I just want to make sure the parks, we're good for that, right?
Park's good for that, right, Phil?
Memorial Day exercises.
Yeah.
Remember last year we had to have it in the school because there was work going on there?
Yeah, it should be all set.
So we're good this
Yeah.
year? Okay.
So those are, outlets will be, there's power out
Yeah,
there, right?
well, I met with John, and he wanted some outlets in front of the town hall in certain locations, and we're taking care of that, so.
Okay,
it
nice.
Should be all set.
Okay, so,
That was the only thing I thought of.
Perfect.
Some of the things.
so that'll be nice to be back where it should be. So we're going to take 5 minutes, John, and let the finance committee come in and get set up.
All right. So we have a new updated version of our numbers
From last week's
from last week.
meeting. Just for clarification, there was reference to the tree warden's budget.
Yeah.
So that was, I plugged in the requested
Right.
amount. It was 34.
$325 or something.
Right, he asked for
Yeah.
36, so I plugged that in.
You
Okay.
plugged that in.
I
Okay.
updated the ambulance.
Thank
We had changed the library, I think, while I was, while
Yes,
we
that
were
needed to
still
go up
here.
$500 in the expenses.
Correct.
Okay.
And the very last page of the budget workbook are the articles that are on the warrant right now requiring
Great.
funds, but
Okay.
some of them we have not funded yet, because we were waiting on free cash.
Okay. Marlene, I had a question about, last week we talked about upgrades to workstations
Yes,
in the town hall. And is that a one-time expense, or is that something that's going to cost money every year?
we typically replace out workstations every 3 to 5 years, generally 5 years. So there are, normally we wouldn't be doing that, well, because of seven becoming, right, 2007 becoming obsolete, we need to make sure that all of the workstations are updated to 2010.
The reason I was asking is, could that come out of free cash, or is that going to be an ongoing expense in our budget?
No, replacing them will be just this one-time expense for this particular, for the next fiscal year. But every year,
Right. No, I understand.
every year there are a number, at least 2 or 3 computers we generally try to replace.
Okay. And in addition to that, I remember last year you're saying something about needing to pay for more support hours?
Correct.
And was that included in your presentation for this year's budget?
To request the additional, yes, that would cover additional support.
Okay, thank you.
Did you say?
The cost of setting up the new workstations, is that included in the purchase?
Well, that was
Or is that included in this?
Somewhere else. Like, we were looking at 14,000, correct, just for
Mhm.
replacing out the workstations.
Right.
So let me just,
I mean, not buying the capital. Somebody's gonna do the work, right? Or are you just gonna do it yourself?
when you say do the work, you're talking about
Well,
setting up
come
new
in, install it,
workstations?
Yeah.
Oh, that number does include labor.
Oh, okay, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It does include.
Includes labor. Okay. Yeah, we just didn't want to get surprised by additional labor costs on top of the cost of the workstations. Okay. So, last week, I think that we still wanted to hear from Sharon and Edwina about costs in their area. And you submitted something?
Yeah, I just handed it to you now.
Okay, and what does it say?
It says some good things and some bad things. So, I handed you out a packet of FY '20 budget stuff, but we had one thing that we wanted to talk to you about for FY '19. I'm not sure how much you guys are aware of this, because this has really been with the Selectmen, but there's these ongoing conversations about health insurance. And one of those conversations was with our group trust, and that they wanted us to adopt some new policies that would help us with the health insurance, with our collective bargaining agreements that we have with the school and with the DPW. So we had actually passed those sections back, I think it was February that those actually got passed. And then there's a number of steps, it's section 32A and B, but then there's section 21 and 22 that they wanted us to pass. So I've been working on that continuously since February, and it was brought to my attention today that there's a deadline kind of in that project that was tomorrow. So I honestly can say neither of us saw that there was a deadline in it, but we're gonna move forward and continue to go through the process and just, as with the prophecy of, we're sorry, we were a little late, but we'll get it done. In that, I found a consulting firm that will help us make sure that we're doing this all correctly. It's like 3 pages worth of paperwork that we need to complete to make sure that all of these things are done in the right order and signed by the right people and certified here. So I found an organization that's in Marshfield that a lot of other towns are using to do this same process. It's $3,000 to use them. That's the cheap route versus having them come and do it all. Like, I'll do all the paperwork, they're just gonna consult me. So I'd like to ask for FY19 if you guys would consider giving us a transfer from the financial reserve fund for $3,000 so that we can cover this. That being said, there will be some money coming back to us in FY20 because we're doing these policies and we're changing the way the health insurance is set up. There's the savings that's going to come that we can be able to offset some of that. Unfortunately, they fall in different fiscal years. I have to spend this money now to get that in place for next year. I've spoke to legal today, just to make sure that I was on the right page, considering that it was due tomorrow. And he's pretty confident that as long as we take the next step starting now and, keep going, that we're gonna be okay. So he wasn't, obviously concerned, but not as panicked as I was, I guess we'll say.
And what kind of ongoing support will you need from this consulting firm over
So
time?
they gave us a 2-page thing, and it's just through this 3 pages of documents. So they're going to help us, but it'll be done until the 2nd week in July, and then we won't need them anymore. It's not an ongoing, it's this, we need this project completed.
Okay.
They consult us on this project, and then it's over. And we shouldn't have to go through it again. It's just a one-time year process.
Thank you.
So that was the first thing we had for you guys.
So that is not on here.
That is not on here because it's separate to
Gotcha.
FY20.
When are you thinking that you're gonna need the transfer?
Not till next month.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make it aware, make sure you guys are comfortable with me. I asked her to get me a new contract so that we could go through it. I spoke with her today, but I said to her, lucky for me, I'm meeting with you today so I can bring it in for you and make sure you felt comfortable with me going forward to that. Absolutely. This is the one she had given me about a month ago, and I just don't have the right dates on it, which is why I didn't give everybody copies of it. But you certainly can, share that amongst your guys' selves about what they'll be doing for support.
Okay. Can you walk us through these quickly? Tax title?
Yep, so now that's all FY19. So then the package you have in front of you is for FY20. So we have level funded as requested, except for there's a few categories that we feel we need to discuss with you guys. The first one being tax title. So we had a $7,000 budget in FY19. We also got another $5,000 when we did the recap for setting the tax rate. Fortunately or fortunately, I used all of that money. We would request that we could go up to 10,000 if possible, because I sat down and figured out today, we have $635,000 that is sitting in tax title owed to us without interest and fees. So to get some of that money back into the town, we have to spend it to make it. And so if we do a little increase here, plus do some money on the recap, that can get me started and working on the bigger cases that I need to have legal. Some of these tax titles, I'm gonna be able to work without much legal advice or without much, I have to go to court necessarily. Hopefully the small ones are just gonna make payment arrangements and we'll be able to move forward. But some of these people owe large amounts of money, and so, we'll have to use our legal counsel for tax title in that. So that's where we have a request for that. Another note, the second one is the debt loan principal and interest. It is down this year because we paid off some loans, so we have some money there, extra money that, it's not getting spent there. 2 other lines, so the treasurer and the collector obviously both do a lot of mailing. The treasurer because we send out all the AP, and the collector because we unfortunately keep sending out tax bills to everyone. We do use a service so that we don't pay 55 cents a postage, but we pay 50, which is still 5 cents up from what we were paying. So this is what I think that 5-cent increase will look like in our budget. And then the last one is probably the one that's the most complicated to talk to. So if you'll go to the last page in your handout that we made. So when we did our budgets last year, the town had not voted yet to combine the collector treasurer's position, and they also did not, it was, not at that point, it was still elected, it wasn't appointed. So we have a current situation of how we're paying out of our office currently, because the treasurer collector positions are still separate. So I didn't want to have to put names, but to make it clear for you guys about what salary levels we're taking in our office. So there's a treasurer salary line that's going to Edwina. I'm taking the collector salary line, which are the same level funded numbers that were in the budget from last year. That meant that the treasurer was only working 25 hours a week, and I think we all know that that's not realistic. So we had to backfill in the rest of the hours. So Edwina's getting additional 15 hours, I'm getting an additional 10, and then we have hours mixed in, to have it, when it's really busy like this week, we have extra hours because we have so much counter work coming in. So there's your level funded $141,340. Any questions on that part?
No?
No, okay, so then we have a couple scenarios going forward. So proposal one stays with the level funded, but combines the positions so that we don't have so many different line items on the budget. So the town did vote to make the treasurer collector one position, and at that point, it should be a 40-hour position. So if you take that position and put it at 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year at the wage that it currently makes, you have a salary one line for that. Then you have the assistant treasurer collector's position at the wage that was the collector was getting for a salary line there, and then a staff, 2 part-time as needed. There's the money that we have in the budget for that, to
Okay.
fund that office.
I have a question about that.
Yep.
So why are these hourly rates different? 31.25 per hour as compared to
So that's
20
proposal two. So
Yeah.
proposal one is level funded,
Oh, I see,
well,
okay.
combined positions.
So this,
Then-
you're proposing this?
So then
okay.
proposal 2 and 3 are salary increase positions. So we had the fortune of having auditors here and Justin, our accountant, here, so we were able to say, what would be the ideal staffing in your guys' mind for our office, since they work in other towns and see other scenarios? The answer given from both parties asked separately was that our office should probably have 3 full-time people. We don't have a third full-time person, we use part-time people to do that. So we left proposal 2 is using it as 2 part-time people at a lesser wage, and then the third one is to actually have a treasurer collector as a full-time person, an assistant treasurer, and then an assistant collector. So that you have someone to do the high-end borrowings, oversee the office, and then you have 2 assistants that break down the position. And then we then said to them, well, what is the going rate for type of these positions? And like everyone else that you hear, we're underpaid, Hatfield is. So we had to put it on paper and put some numbers in there for you. So obviously the treasurer collector, it's usually a salaried type position. So it's usually around 65,000. The assistant treasurer is around 58. And then the staff, varies depending on whether you have it as part-time counter help or whether you have it as an actual assistant collector. I will say, part of this is, we both feel that the staff in our office is definitely, of course, we're gonna say we're underpaid, but our staff is definitely underpaid for the amount of money and transactions or responsibility level for the work that is going through. I hate to compare offices to offices, but the town clerk assistant makes $18.29 an hour, and the person who handles all the money for the town, for our office, makes $14.92. So there's a big drastic difference there with the responsibility level that you're asking for someone in our office versus, across the hall. So those are our proposals. The other part that plays into all of this is that no one wants to hear in this room, but Edwina's going to want to retire again soon. She has graciously helped us. Thank every day. Thank you, Edwina, for all that you've done for us. But we'd like to get her back to retirement, so I would hope that we could put some money into the budget so that I'll let her talk about what her exact plan is. But that when she doesn't have an exact plan, is what she just said. Well, it is. She deserves, my thought going forward as someone who's going to be here for the longer term is that we put money in for her to consult, so that she can be here as we need her, but that the day-to-day work is done by me and someone else, whatever position you put me in at that point, it's up for conversation, but that she doesn't have to do the day-to-day stuff and that she can focus on the bigger picture. So that's kind of our department in a nutshell. What did I miss, Edwina? I tried to talk slower today, so I don't know if I did any better, but I tried.
Thank you.
Questions, thoughts?
George Ashley from the Historical Commission is also here. He wanted to stop in and ask, if he could answer any questions that you may have regarding the Historical Commission's budget.
We have to dig that out. Where did that go?
Well, the actual budget submitted was less than what it is this year, and Amy Hahn took on the task of putting the budget together. She was looking at previous numbers. So it's a level-funded number that's plugged into the budget
Oh,
workbook, as
okay.
most of them are anyway.
Is there anything you wanted to tell us?
I'm the secretary of the commission now, but I was chair for over a decade previous to last summer. And I've been trying not to breathe down Amy's neck. And I probably should have when the budget request went out in probably November. And tell her to get that in, and she had not until she got a reminder from Marlene's office. And she sent me, I'm a snowbird, I'm retired, I live in Mexico in the winter. And I got an email from her in January saying, what do I do about this? And I said, submit the same budget that I submitted last year, which was for 1,900 and something, I don't remember exactly. And I thought that's what she'd done. But according to Marlene, she actually submitted one for 1,700 and something.
1,760.
Plus also something else which I didn't know that she was going to do, is she requested $150 be taken out of the interest of the Tobacco Barn Trust, which I can explain what that is if you need to have that explained to you. And I think it would be not a good idea to take money out of the interest of the Tobacco Barn Trust, because that money is supposed to go simply to maintain the barn that the Farm Museum is located in. And probably in a few years, we're going to have to put a new roof on that building, and I think we should have as much money in that account as we possibly can when we need to put a new roof on. Probably still won't be enough, but I'd rather have the money there for the new roof.
So you'd like to request a budget of 1,900, not
Correct.
17?
1,900 and so, it's pennies shy of 2,000. I
Penny
don't
shy
have that
of
committed to
2,000.
memory.
And what did you put in this updated?
It's, I believe, 1,960.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? What do you think about the idea of making a single payment retirement system?
We will be doing
You will be.
that. Yep, that's in the past. And that's what's budgeted in, is to do
It
that.
saves us about $8,000.
Yeah.
No brainer in our eyes.
Right, great. No, I mean, if we have the cash
Yep,
flow to do it, we, makes sense.
we agree.
That's this number you're talking about? Right, okay, yeah, 567, 744.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, except it would only cost us $557,726.
Because we're paying.
Yeah, well, go ahead and take
Great, okay, that's a good idea.
You should have had.
Did you say, sir, that there was submitted a new revised budget?
I did not. I mean, I've had a conversation with Marlene about this.
So she knows what numbers are changing on
Yeah,
your...
the total budget request from the commission should be 1,900 and, I think, 85, but I'm
Yeah,
not
just
positive.
put 2,000, but it's...
Something like that.
Okay.
It's the same numbers as for the current
Previous.
fiscal year.
Okay,
Okay?
fair enough.
And
Thank
we
you.
will need that $200 more than Amy had requested. We're going to have a fairly major expense for the maintenance of the fire extinguishers in that building this coming year, because 3 of the 4 of them have to be replaced. And what ordinarily is a yearly expense of about $100 is going to be close to $400.
Gotcha.
Okay.
How does the money come into the trust?
When the tobacco barn was converted and updated so it could be used as a museum, we got a state grant. And one of the conditions of the state grant is that the town set aside $10,000 in a perpetual trust, the interest from that trust to be used solely to maintain the building and not to be used at all to operate the museum. So $10,000 went into it 15 years ago or so. And we hope that that will be there forever, and the interest will be accumulated.
Yeah.
There was one odd wrinkle. The Finance Committee about a dozen years, well, more than a dozen, 15 years ago, when money was very tight in town, they asked Mary Lou Cutter, who was then the chairman of the commission, if they could take some of the interest out of that fund and use that to operate the museum, and she agreed to it. And when she fell ill and I took over as chairman, I said, no.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
okay.
I have the Historical Commission's budget on the screen. It is $1,960.
Okay, great.
Okay, so, Marlene, can you walk me through our new format?
Sure.
Just,
Where
I
would
have
you like to
a question,
start?
which is, where is our, given the appropriations we considered last week, where's the levy limit at?
So if you go to the second page, and you look at the FY '20 column,
Yep,
at the bottom, 206,346.
that includes the 2% raises we considered?
Yes, it does. Oh, the 2% COLAs. I was thinking the 2.5% increase. Let me go to the front page. No, because I'm still waiting for Justin to get back to me. Remember, there was a question regarding option C on the first page? Because that includes school, DPW.
Yeah, that's not a
My question to him
helpful
is
number.
that all employees? And
Yeah. That's not a helpful
I'm waiting
number.
for a response. So that would not be included.
You mean, does that mean all non-union employees? Is that the question?
Yes.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So what
I
you're,
don't believe that includes.
okay, so the reason I'm asking this question is I'm trying to figure out how close we're getting, given the ideas we had last week of how we wanted to spend tax money. So this does not include the 2% COLA we were hoping to give to non-union employees.
It would not.
Okay.
Those options, yeah, that is not feeding
Okay,
to
so
that
there, and that
second sheet
amount
yet.
was, what was that dollar amount, Peter?
13%?
Okay, so it's like they're $26,000?
Right.
Last week, we had
Well-
said, yeah, 26,000. And, yeah, so that
This includes the
162
school.
is
It's not helpful.
much too high.
And that's at 2%? It includes the school, but it includes the
Well, that's my
the
question for
non-union staff.
Justin,
That's
yeah.
gonna be Two
Well,
or
no,
three people.
I think that probably
Exactly.
includes everybody in the school.
No, non-union staff, I mean town-wide. So I'm talking about the police department, the fire department.
Right.
Right.
Well, there has been some, well, I guess it's not clear to me all the time when we do that, if we're including schools, non-union school staff, or whether they're already being included in the school budget.
They are already being
Right,
included
because
in
the
John's
school
school
budget, they
budget.
put their
Right.
increases
They took
into
care of
their
it.
budget, so we shouldn't.
Right, so they shouldn't be included twice.
Right.
Exactly.
Essentially. I mean, we're only talking about a handful of people, so.
No, I know,
it's
I'm trying to get some
not-
accurate
Now,
numbers.
my
here.
understanding is we're not supposed to include that. We're not including that, and we're
Right.
not including DPW union.
Right.
Right,
The intent was
Just
non-union employees.
Non-union, that,
non-school,
non-school.
right, exactly, exactly.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And last year, they got a 0%, where the unions and the schools got like a 2% increase, and plus their step increases on that. So our non-union staff are already behind 4%, and we're giving them 2, so I don't know, 26,000. I was, just for conversation, whether that should really be 3% for just the non-union, non-school staff and non-union staff, you know, I'm just kicking that out because the non-union folks are behind.
Right, and I'm happy to entertain that idea, I'm just struggling with where we're at. What's the number we're at? So if the number we're at is,
Yeah, well, because there's also this C, which is a 2% overall increase, which is less than half of the 2.5%.
but that's
That's the budget?
budget,
Oh,
not
okay.
salaries. That's why I'm just so confused by these numbers.
Well, yeah, because this one looks like a 1% overall budget increase, is that what that is?
So he would have probably taken whatever the salaries were for
Well, except
salary, whatever the budgeted salary amount is.
Only one of these says one of these says salary.
And
though.
one does, yeah,
And the
two
other
do
two
not.
Oh,
don't.
you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
All right, I have to go back to the board, everybody.
all right. Well, I was hoping to review this with Justin before tonight, and he has been busy with the auditors.
That's okay.
so-
We can even talk in what-if scenarios, but let's at least all agree what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah. So the number we have is 206,346.55 that's left over, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And as I recall from last week, we had recommended, people help me here, we had recommended money for,
We had the obligatory 13,000 for the,
that was free
ambulance.
cash, wasn't it?
It's an ongoing, no, it's not a one-time.
We were talking about the 60,000 for the sped costs.
That was all free cash.
Right. Right. 60,000 for school sped.
5-year plan, yeah.
So let me back up the question, Marlene. Last week, what numbers did we change in the expenses?
We changed the library.
Library, so
Right,
that's already
so let
in.
me-
So that was to make the state grant.
Yep, so that's
Right,
it.
so here, right, that's there, that
What
was
else did
changed.
we
I had
change?
it. We changed ambulance, but that budget is funded from ambulance revenue, so that doesn't affect taxation. We updated the tree warden's line item,
Okay. We got that in,
and,
$360 or.
but it's a little more.
Oh, it's more, okay.
It's 2,300, Bill?
Oh, we're gonna do grinding it?
If you include the 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want, but it's in
Right.
Marlene's number.
That's how
we increased the assessor's line, because it's a reval year.
All right, thank you.
And I believe under general government, that was the
And
only
then
change.
We put the school at 169 something, right?
Oh,
Is
did
that
we?
the
Okay, did
request?
we do something
Did
with
we
the
do
school?
that?
169,758.90.
Did that get into
Let's
the?
169?
That is with, that's the level.
That's their
service.
operating budget? Oh, okay. The 169.
Yeah.
So their expense for 20 is not 4,361,000, what is it? Okay, I did not make that change. I didn't realize we had done that.
169.
758.90,
What is,
yeah.
So we're adding 169,000 to the,
I don't know for sure whether John had already
John had already what?
had that in there or not.
No, John, that's the number John proposed. What I'm asking is, did Marlene?
Did it get in there?
right, this is, the FY20 is a level
Yeah.
number.
so in FY,
No, it's not a level number. Not for the.
Oh, you're right, 18 was
Right,
4,
exactly.
yes.
So for the school, it was 169,000, what did you tell me, 722?
It's, I have, $1,000 difference here, but I have
So that may be in there,
169,758.90.
Betsy.
So that, what did you say?
I'm thinking that may be in there.
It's got a s-
Okay, because that would make
what's
a
in the
big
sheet?
difference on this number.
it looks to me in the sheet, Arlene,
Yeah.
that the FY19 expense and the FY20 expense are exactly the same.
And that was not the case.
4,361,126 is the number in both
So
FY19
that's
and
not
20.
right. So the number, so the school's not in there.
Right. Yeah,
Well, the increases.
correct.
Right, the increase is not in there.
It's level funded.
And we wanted
essentially,
to work with what John had suggested in order to maintain level
right? Well,
service.
except for this.
So that 169,758 still needs to be subtracted here.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Why is that? That's less than, it's less
206.
than
What's
18.
the top number? 206.
46, 346.
But it's the same as 19, which is,
Which should not be the case.
yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at 18, why am I shouldn't even be looking at 18, right, it's the same as 19,
So that
correct.
leaves you with $36,588.
Oh,
Thank you. That seems a little bit more like the number I was anticipating.
Yeah.
Now we
Okay.
got the school. Okay, then, if we gave 2% raises to the non-union employees in town, that was going to be about $26,000.
correct.
Thank you. 2% raises for non-union. So now we're down to $10,588.
And
Does that sound right?
sure does.
Okay. Does that include the little increase, Marlene, that the Historical Society just talked about?
I think it's in here.
I think it's in at the 1,900.
Mhm. All right, so the school's budget should be 4,530,884?
Might be, I can check the
That's-
number.
That's
Yeah, I just added the 169, 758 to the 4.3.
Yeah, let me
That's
just
plugged in
double
there.
check.
Say your number again,
4,530,884.
this
Yeah, John has $1,000 less, so he has 4,500,000.
Okay, maybe
Yes,
my
that's the
math.
right number.
361, 36
This is-
plus 169.
So,
So we're at the
169,
758.
Yeah, I'm getting the same number.
So I got 168, 758.
right, some reason we were talking about 169.
All
but
right,
so
let
it's
me,
just-
let me back it up.
So we have an extra $1,000 on the board there. 168, 758.
Okay.
No.
No.
Well, I mean, no, as Phil was just asking about the tree warden, and it's not in there. The increase is 360.
Well, let me finish with the school here for a moment.
The
Okay,
increase is
4,
360.
5,
Right.
2, 9,
Okay.
8, 8, 4.
90.
Oops,
and
90?
cents.
Oh, and 90 cents?
I mean, if you care about 90 cents.
Okay. 2, 9, 8, 8, so it rounds up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I need to go over here. 4, 5.
365 for tree warden?
So if I go to Public Works, tree warden is 36,000. That's what's in the requested budget from the DPW director.
The attached memo that about the stump grinder, I mean about the brush grinder.
Right.
We haven't done anything with that, is all I'm
Right,
saying.
there wasn't a decision
Don't-
made.
Okay,
It's not in there. So
but the tree warden's salary is in there.
The tree warden budget is level funded.
Yeah,
well, actually, right now, it's increased by $360.
we did increase it last week by $300.
So is the 36,000 a salary or expense?
That's expense.
That's what I thought, okay. So this is correct right now, the 36?
Right now, that's correct.
It's correct.
But the question was the $16,000 request in that number, and it isn't.
Okay.
Oh, that was for the brush dump.
Yes.
That might have to be a free cash thing.
Well, it would have to go into the operating budget because it's an annual thing. I mean, it's a yearly
It is.
expense 3 times a year.
How did we fund it last year?
We just took it out of existing accounts.
Okay, so now with our $11,588, what would you like to do?
Well,
Oh, can I ask one more question? So Sharon,
Yes.
you talked about the debt, loan, principal, and interest expenses going down.
Yep,
So is this number in the new budget?
it is.
Oh, rats.
I was hoping the same thing, that's why we checked with Marlene this afternoon.
I mean, realistically,
We're done.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I mean, you could spend,
88,
I mean, you could spend a few
$1,000.
$1,000s out of that, you know? like,
Well, we have postage, right?
Yeah.
You know?
We could pay for postage.
Right.
Yeah, do that.
So our levy capacity is at 37,587,
Sorry?
after those changes that we just made.
Uh-huh,
The levy capacity,
yeah.
which was 206 to
Yeah,
start
which
with,
we have
is now at 37,587.
Right, but that doesn't
But that
include the
doesn't include
proposed
this.
2% raise.
Correct, it does
Okay.
not.
So then, postage all around.
Yeah, there's been a number of suggestions, the postage was increasing.
Yeah, I mean, it did, going up 5 cents.
Yeah, but I mean, just across all boards, we could add it up, but, I mean, right here is 1,300. That's the few thousand right there that you're talking about.
Okay, well, I think we should, you know. and some postage.
Not delivered mail by hand.
Although I have some free times. All right, so let's talk about free cash for a minute. What's the number we want to play with there, 322? Somebody run me through my numbers again? Paul, you have them?
Well, depends what we're talking about, I suppose.
100,000 for snow and ice,
Yep,
okay.
big one.
60,000 for.
Did you say 100,000 for snow and ice?
No,
That
water
water,
main
that's
repair.
water and
Sorry, that's the
sewer.
water
The
break.
100,000.
That's the water.
That's
Water
the
and
water
sewer.
Sorry,
Yeah.
water
Right.
break.
Nonetheless.
Yeah,
Water break, yeah, okay, what's,
2.60.
snow and ice?
Actually, we're going to defer that to later in the year when we complete the recap sheet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But, well, do we want to have money though to pay it?
it's 90,000.
Well, the Board of Selectmen acted on reviewing the warrant articles earlier and decided to pull that article from the warrant, the snow and ice.
We figure this cycle, we're going to do
19.
it like we've done it in the past until, now that we know the books are getting straight.
Well, on the
But where are you gonna-
recap
Where are
sheet.
you going to fund it?
Later in the year, it'll be reported on the recap, it'll hit our free cash.
That's our free cash.
But we still have to take it out of there.
No, this is
Oh,
for
this year, next
19.
year, we're gonna-
We're talking about 19 snow and ice deficit.
Yeah,
There is
No,
no.
it comes out of FY '20's.
20,
Yeah.
right.
It's the only thing you can
But-
push till the next year.
Right. There is an article on the warrant for 18. There were a couple of operating budget deficits.
It's already paid
Just-
out of there.
Is there an intention, though, to switch to a different method of paying that snow and ice?
I can't speak for the board. I think right now, because
I
we,
mean, I don't care if we want to keep pushing it forward a year indefinitely, that's one thing,
right.
But
but.
if you switch.
No,
but if
I
you
understand.
switch, we're going to have to pay twice
Right.
in some year, and what year is that going to be that we're going to do that, I guess? is the question.
Brian was here, we just thought this year we'd do it like we've been doing it in the past, and then we're going to have a conversation later this year on how to change it.
I mean, I
That's
guess we
all.
could wait till
That's all.
the year when we don't have a snow and ice deficit, or not a very small one, and try and do it then.
Because right now, we don't have all
Yeah.
the numbers in yet.
Yeah.
Sean, the other
So-
concern was I had said, well, we're going into May. April can be unpredictable, but hopefully it'll be nice weather from this point going forward. But we have to so we're just closing 18. We need to catch up with reconciling 19, and until we have a good handle
My only
on that.
concern just was the statement that this year we're gonna do this.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that means next year we're planning on doing something different, which would mean you'd have to pay the 90,000 and the other money both in next year. If you chose to do that, and can you do that? But if we're not planning on doing that, and we're gonna continue like we always have, to push it into the next fiscal year, then it just
Yeah,
goes on ad infinitum like that. I mean,
Okay,
that's
but
not.
don't we have one of these snow and ice deficits for every free cash allotment?
Well.
Your FY '18 free cash has already been, we put it on the recap, so
Already
it's already happened, and it's already out of
It's
that
deducted.
322.
Okay.
So it's already been taken care of?
Right.
It was never in the 322.
That's what I didn't know.
Yes.
Right.
But there were some costs that came in after we
Yes,
had
and those are on
completed
the-
that, and there is an article on the warrant to take care of that.
But they're, what, 4,000, is it 4,000?
21,000, but we're still looking at it too, to see
But
if
so
that
should we be
is legit.
factoring it in here, though?
Yes,
Yes.
because that would be funded from free cash.
She just said 21,000. So what other things do you have on the warrant, Marlene? That's FY,
So Article 8, FY18 budget deficits, it's a total of 24,403.
Prior year deficiency, basically.
Right. Right. We have a school department prior year expense.
That's sped,
No, that's not sped, that's a legal invoice
okay.
for $258.50. We have a prior DPW expense for $3,000. That had become a legal matter, and so that was resolved.
Didn't we pay that out of financial reserve? We paid that out of financial reserve, didn't we?
Did you pay that, Phil, ask for, no? Because we just resolved that with town council a couple months ago.
I think you're thinking of a different one.
It's possible, but where's my list?
This is for grinding at the highway department.
I gave it to everybody. Paul, do you have it? The list of financial reserve appropriations? I gave everybody a copy. Here it is. Okay.
No, maybe not. So we had the,
I didn't make a request for DPW for 3,000, so I don't know if Phil did, but,
so we just have, this is a town insurance.
oh, that was for the pickup
Silverado.
truck.
Right, okay.
That was adding it to the
Yeah,
it was an
yeah,
endorsement
the-
to the insurance policy, the fleet
Okay,
schedule.
So 3,000 for a liability insurance?
Prior year, yeah,
Okay. This is,
okay.
the 24,403
Is the our FY18 budget deficits.
And actually, I think it's 50 now. That's this one here, too. Yeah, 50, not 40.
okay. We got the sped,
Water and
60,000?
60,440. You have the 100,000 for water and sewer.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else are we looking at from free cash? I think, well, there's an article for the 350th anniversary for 25,000. We haven't decided how we're going to fund that. Is that going to come
The
from
DEP compliance
taxation?
inflow,
Oh, right,
yeah.
50,000.
50,000.
For what?
The DEP compliance inflow, the input.
Oh, the info, okay. So we are going to add that.
Yeah, we need to do that. So that's the.
So these are
IRS.
capital projects
Right.
now.
Phase 2.
Right.
So you're at 84,1,057.
That's what I got last.
So that was 50,
84,157.
that is
And
50,000?
there's the
Eight,
ambulance paramedic equipment for 13.
I spoke too soon with my math. Sorry.
For 15,000.
Okay.
And then there's, lots of other.
So these are on the table for the board to
That we
discuss,
basically said we were definitely.
for the selectmen to discuss? I
That's-
mean, we
I think
talked
that's
about
it
them
for
last
now.
week, but the board hasn't
Definitely.
taken any action on the capital projects.
71,157.
He's talking about capital, and in your packet
Sean just mentioned.
is a list of capital projects.
I've spoken in previous years about a percentage going back into stabilization.
Yes.
Valid point.
Throwing that out
We've
there.
spent a bunch of money out of there over the last,
I was surprised to see the stabilization number on that budget. What is it say? It seems higher than I thought.
Paul, did you say ambulance paramedic is 15?
13.
13, okay. I also wanted to share with the board, when I was looking at some numbers with Justin, the capital stabilization has 30, where is that number? $34,992 is available in the capital stabilization fund.
Okay.
it's not necessarily here.
Well, I thought I just saw numbers for the stabilization fund.
Oh, here it is.
In the budget?
Yeah,
Yeah, probably on
I
the,
did.
It's on,
Is that an actual number, or is that money that we used
I don't know, I
in
can't
prior
tell.
years? There's numbers in here for money that we used.
You're
out of
looking at funding
stabilization
sources?
FY18.
Available funds, B2, other available funds?
Yeah,
yep,
but that's not the stabilization fund,
that's not the
That's-
capital stabilization.
no, but even the general stabilization. Is that correct?
I'm
Or that looks like
not
money
aware we have
used
two-
in FY18.
It seems high to me.
What number are you looking at?
Looking at the 65,912.28 and the
Right, well, that-
65,664.
That was revenue, that was money that we used to fund the budget in FY18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what, this box, Sean? See?
Available balances as of
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't that seem high to you?
Yes.
High relative to what I think it should be,
Yeah.
or?
I mean, what I think it is.
Generally, yeah, no, I don't know, it seems
That
a
seems
little
high.
bit high, like maybe,
Do you see that number?
is the
Maureen?
$60,000 out of
Are you
there?
looking? Oh, on the front page?
So,
That's what I'm wondering.
town hall.
It's not totally disproportionate.
Available balances as of
Right,
February.
right. And I confirmed this one with Justin today.
Okay, but what about stabilization, 300?
That does seem high.
That
We
seems
did put
high.
some money back in there last year, but we didn't put that.
Can
Did
you
we-
circle that
how
and
much
find
did we
out
put
what
back?
the deal is with that? Because
Absolutely.
if it's there, I don't,
Either.
Sean, would you agree that if this 303,000 number was real, that we didn't have to put money in stabilization?
Yeah, that does seem
Yeah, I
awfully
mean,
high.
If it was real,
That seems high.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, I mean, high relative to what I
Right,
think,
it's-
what I thought it was, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
looks, $50,000, $60,000 higher than what I thought it was.
Right.
But high relative to like, if you looked around, would it be high at what other people do? No.
I mean,
It's
considering
not.
what we have to deal with, maybe we skip adding to it this year, is that the
That's what I'm
implication? I-
Yeah.
I get
We
that.
used quite a bit of that a couple of years ago, and we put some money back in, but that
But maybe we
does
put
look-
back in, maybe a sum, maybe we do something with it.
Okay, one more question, Marlene. The workstations,
Mhm.
are they in this number proposed or not yet?
No. No, my IT budget is, in here is level funded. No, I submitted my requests
thing.
in writing. I did not put them into the budget.
That's fine. So workstations was 14,000?
How many workstations are we talking about doing, Mary?
Oh, we were talking about,
And that includes labor.
yes, it does.
And what about the labor that the school needs?
So we're talking about 12, replacing 12 workstations, $14,916.
Okay, and what was your
That sounds
increase
good.
to your IT budget proposal?
I mean,
Warranty
then
for
there's this whole
workstations,
safety
approximate cost.
from the school.
So initially, I was
Fire
looking
DPW is
for,
big one.
in addition to the project cost, it would be
That's
annual
it.
expenses
Wireless
accounting to an
and
increase.
lights, the
Um,
lights, all this. Lights, yeah. Yeah.
The one-time project cost would be, so I was looking at annual expenses amounting to an increase of
Gotta have a grant for- for some of this
$9,336.
part.
Let me read this. The town has been advised of implement remote. Okay, never mind, that was for the remote. The remote
Yeah, that's.
backup. Right, if we were to do that, there would be annual expenses amounting to $9,336. We're not doing that for the next fiscal year. So right now,
Stations.
so I just was looking out to cover the cost of the workstations, even though I do feel that we need to increase the cost for IT administrative support, or support and administrative
Right.
coverage.
That's not,
I'm just looking right now to cover the workstations,
Yeah,
that's a
that's not a-
priority.
yeah, because that's not really a free cash item either. If we increase the IT support, it's going to stay increased, and we're not going to, we're not going to decrease it.
Not gonna go down,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so Diane tells me we're at 55 something, 55,983.
What if we did half the workstations now and did the other half next year?
Yeah, what would happen, we don't really understand the workstations, what would happen if you had perhaps half
If
them?
we didn't do the 12?
Perhaps, is it,
Well, my understanding is those computers that remain with the old Windows, there won't be any support.
Yeah, well,
if
Microsoft's
we need
not
to
going to
re-
support it anymore, but
Right,
that
right.
doesn't mean that,
It doesn't run.
yeah, right,
It works.
right.
Right. It could, yeah, right, it would still work, but if there's a problem,
Yeah, well, somebody can
Right.
fix it, it's just Microsoft's not going to develop new
right.
patches and whatnot.
Right.
so maybe what we could do is, depending on what free cash is for fiscal year 19 closed out, then maybe we could look at funding the other half, or,
Okay.
Sharon thinks that she has some good
What
news.
about the conversation we had with Justin the other day, and he turned in his budget, and so there was.
that's right, well, I wanted to talk
I
about that.
found
So-
something positive.
Right, so I did highlight, if we go to the general government budget and the accountant's line, and I had mentioned it last week, that, 420, that line item is funded.
Right.
However, did we go to town administrator? Right, so the town
Funded twice.
administrator does have professional service, the cost for professional services built into that budget. And I had forwarded the quote or the budget from Justin,
Right.
which is
So-
68,000. So either, if you want to fund it under the town administrator, or leave it in the accountant's
Accounting.
line. If
But
we
we don't
think-
need it in both places.
Correct.
So how
We got to,
much is that
we got to
for?
free up some money somewhere.
I think it's smart to leave some, a little bit, because as we've seen with
Right.
A
Justin.
cushion, and I think
Maybe
I,
20,000.
Or, well, I was even gonna say, split the difference.
the email I sent out last week, I had said maybe we should keep a little bit of a cushion.
Yeah.
But to like
Over the
25,000 we
68.
can move?
There's 60,000 in that, in your other line, right? So-
Correct, correct. So the accountant's line has 66,642.
And he predicted
So we could,
69.
right, so we could add the difference there, plus the cushion, to the accountant's line, and reduce the town administrator's budget.
I only say this because,
Yeah.
So Marlene, I have a question. As we were discussing today, we looked at the recap sheet.
We
for
didn't
snow
look at the
and ice.
recap sheet today.
We looked last year, on the recap was the 60-something thousand for snow and ice. Where did
Yeah,
that
what
get-
were we
how did
looking
that
at?
get paid?
What's that?
How did that get paid? What did that get paid?
Well, it comes off our free
Out
cash.
of the free cash.
We take a
Already.
hit to the free cash.
Okay, it already came out of it.
Right,
Okay,
right, so essentially, we're funding it from the free cash.
okay.
And it was 63 something.
Okay. So if we pull 25,000 out of the town administrator's
Administrators.
budget,
Is that what you'd like to do?
36,000.
Coming back to 36,588.
No, this is operating. But if I was just saying, if we're gonna do something with the brush grinding, it makes sense to do it out of that side and not out of the free cash side, since it's not gonna go away.
Agreed.
You just have to keep finding it.
Yeah, it's not a one-time deal.
So
16?
How much is that?
it's 16, the whole thing's 16,
Everything costs so much.
but.
Marlene, I'm gonna cut this workstation thing in half.
Okay.
Well, and the other operating item that we have that's on the table is, other than the ones we've kind of considered already, is IT support. So what's the increase for IT support, Marlene?
Oh, that was to do off-site backups.
Oh, that's
Well,
just
that was,
also-
that was a project, but for actual
Yes.
coverage, I didn't calculate that into.
Okay,
I just
okay.
reviewed that memo that I had sent.
Okay.
No, I was just covering, because the workstations
Yeah.
was going to be significant.
Yeah.
I just thought, well, just go with that.
So I'd like to propose that we support the request for $10,000 to move forward with collections.
So it's really, I already have 7 built in, so I'm only asking for
So you're
3.
asking
Three.
for 3,
Three, an
so I'd
additional
like to
3.
support that.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yep.
I second that.
Can you copy this down?
So this is-
Paul
free
just took,
cash
Paul just took a
part.
picture of it, so,
I need both sides. Can you do both sides? Sorry?
Paul just took a picture of it, so.
Yeah, there is another side you can.
All right, 36,700.
Well, so,
So-
what do you call that, collector?
Tax title,
Tax title, yeah.
Tax title.
Okay. Now, question for your office. So you were budgeted at part-time positions, right?
Yep.
But you ended up working many hours, and so you got paid for some of those hours? You got paid for those hours?
We got paid for them.
You got paid for the 40 hours a week, right? Did you? Yeah. Okay, so if we were to fund, does it make sense to fund the, okay, let me see if I can phrase this properly. What would it cost to fund 3 full-time positions in that office at the current salaries?
It's on our list.
No, I didn't do it that way.
I know.
But I can do it.
That's why I knew I was asking an annoying question.
Nope, that's okay, I can do it. Keep talking and I'll get it done for you.
Okay, so I would like to propose, and this is my idea, you guys may not agree at all, but that one of the suggestions I would make is considering funding those hours, because otherwise we would need to pull from Marlene's professional. How did we get that paid this year? Did we pull from your budget?
We did use my budget
Yeah,
for,
that's
for professional services, and we're using the accountant's budget.
Right, to pay them?
To pay who?
Well, to pay the collector and the treasurer. They worked more hours than we budgeted for.
The accountant's line is budgeting your salary?
No.
No.
She's asking how the extra additional hours got paid.
Right.
The
That
amount,
somebody
you're talking
worked.
about base date, for
No,
base date.
No, she's talking about the additional hours in our office that Edwina in particularly worked. Where did that money come from? And it didn't all get funded, let's put it that way nicely.
Okay, so that's what I would recommend, is that we pay for the 40 hours of 3 full-time positions.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about base date.
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
talking about, I always forget the name of the office. What do you call your office?
The treasurer collector's
Collector's
office.
Treasurer collector's office. That's my suggestion, but
Now, Bay State also made the recommendation for more support in that office, because that's where most of the work is done, so.
So let me ask Edwina a question. When you
No, because
figured,
it's at this rate.
when you figured the 2% COLA increases, you probably did you do that at 40 hours a week in your office?
Yes.
No,
I bet you
Well,
didn't.
some of it at 40 hours.
no, because was originally budgeted as a part-time
That's what I
position.
thought.
Exactly.
Okay. So what the point I'm trying to make is,
I
if
see
we
what
were
you're
to
getting.
agree that we wanted to fund 40 hours a week for 3 positions in the treasurer collector's office, we would need to put a little more money in here, right?
Yeah.
In order to fund 2% COLAs. that make sense to you guys?
Your last point was what? That we'd
So
have to increase that?
right, you
Yeah.
would have to increase this a little,
Change
because
that
if we
for
wanted to do a 2% increase to the
But then I
treasurer
did it, but
collector's
watch what
office,
happens. I think I made a
but pay
mistake,
for
but I was
40 hours a
listening.
week times 3 people, then I would like to budget for that.
Yeah, I mean,
Unless- I mean, I think it's needed, but
it's ambiguous at the moment because we don't have figures for a third person.
Right.
But I agree with the sentiment for sure.
okay. Did you understand, Diane, what I was talking about?
Yeah, it's just, which proposal are you looking at?
Well,
It's not
none
any of
of them.
them.
Number 4 is what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
number 4.
Yeah.
But it's, if you look at the top,
Are you saying you're going to pull the 25 grand out and put it in to that
I know.
third-time position? Okay.
Well, I'm putting it to all those
Maybe
positions, because the problem is they're not funded at 40 hours a week.
they're funded at, they're not, yeah, they total 55 hours a week and not 80 hours a week.
And I think, I mean, and
Correct.
again, I'm open to everybody's feedback, but I think we've gotten to the point where there is a consistent workload there.
Yes,
Mhm.
we know there is.
Would you agree
You
with
know,
that?
something like this.
I would agree, but the fact that the accountants have recommended that, the Bay State Accounting has recommended it,
So what is-
and they're not the only ones. We had that previous study, the same thing. that
Okay.
We needed more in that office.
So I have adjusted the town administrator's expense line from 70,000 to 7,000, and deleted the salary cell there for the accountant, and added 68,000 plus 25,000, so for 93,000 is in the expense for the accountant.
Well, no, we're gonna take
No.
that 25,000, we're not gonna put that in the
Oh,
accountants.
you don't want it in the
No,
accountants?
I would like to put it in the treasurer collector's office,
Okay,
if we need, I
so
don't know
leave it
if
at
we need that much.
68?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Can anybody do that math?
Yeah.
Well, it's the third position that we don't know about right now.
Well, we
Right.
have, they're currently, as
Two
it looks
part-timers.
like,
If you do it level funded and pay that third person the 2476, then it's 161. It almost turns out to proposal 2 in a
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
but a little less because it doesn't have the way the math, the decimals work. It comes to 161, 136, so it's $20,000 more than we currently have.
it's $20,000?
Yeah. Our level funded budget is 141, 340. If we went with a third full-time person, it would be 161, 136, so.
Thank you, Sharon, that's
Yeah,
very helpful.
sorry, I didn't
That's,
think to do that.
well done, thank you.
Proposal number 4.
Did you catch that?
No, because I was making the adjustments on here.
That's
So
why.
was there an agreement to increase the tax title from 7 to 10?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to get that taken care of. All right.
And then the next thing I was proposing is that we take that 25,000
Okay,
from your budget
I'm just a little confused.
okay,
and move 20,000 of it to the treasurer collector's office
to the treasure, all right, so,
salary
Side of the
line.
equation.
well, we have two, we have a treasurer line and a collector line.
We need, that needs, what needs to be corrected.
So we're gonna combine that?
Because it's a combined position now.
Okay,
Put 20,000 here.
Without being
so
ridiculous.
20,000 to, I'll just plug it into the treasurer's line for now, and I'll
Clean
have
it
to
up
make the
later.
other adjustment. So is that in salaries?
Yeah, that's in
So
salary.
25,000 to salaries.
And then we're gonna need a little bit more here. Edwina, can you help? me with that
20,000,
number?
Marlene.
Oh, 20,000?
Yes.
That's a tough one, I think.
Okay,
I
so
think Edwina is gonna,
122, 713.
I'm trying to guess what it would be. Guessing $10,000?
No, I don't think so.
It would be
42,
this right here.
42 minus 3,000
Yeah.
equals
So you, Sharon, you're looking at the higher rate.
15,
Yeah.
I'm
not what
using the
part-time
lower
people are
rate.
making, right?
lower,
The lower rate,
Lower rate, right?
put a 2%, it's
We should probably
55
figure out a
cents.
postage figure too across all departments.
56 cents,
It's,
40 weeks, 40 hours.
well, what,
50
two,
weeks.
are we looking for the 2% of the 20,000?
less than 11.
but that's for one position.
1% would be $200, right?
And then the other one.
Right.
2% is $400.
I'm just making sure. So we've increased the hours.
If we've increased the hours,
But she's eliminating the part-time help, correct, and adding a full-time person.
Right, I'm just, oh, it
So
should be
she took the
400.
salaries for the part-timers and put it in, and it's 20,000 more for a
So it should be
full-time.
26,400 is what you're
$400 more
thinking?
dollars, right?
Well, if you give the treasurer and collector a 2%
Yeah.
increase, it's, well, you did already factor, oh, but see, when I did it by 40 hours, I didn't do it by the right number of hours. I did it for the full hours.
No, we want full hours.
But already in here is that the 25 hours, so I have to do the difference.
The difference.
It's different.
Times 55 cents, times
Okay.
40.
2,000.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's like 1,900 is what it turns out to be rough off my head.
That's
2,000, yeah, roughly.
so ultimately, we want a real number for
Yes, I will sit down and do the math.
for non-union.
Absolutely.
Well, we can get a
Per
real,
percentage.
we can get a real number as soon as the spreadsheet's done.
That's true.
Because it's gonna give us a salary number of the non-union employees on there, right?
What should we propose for postage?
Yeah,
Well,
$2,000?
who else is,
way more than that.
So.
who else is really
The-
using postage
The
though?
school.
The
town
town clerk,
clerks,
town clerk with the census stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
town
That was like a
clerk,
couple
you
hundred.
guys.
Is that a couple hundred?
Collector,
they are doing
Way
that.
more.
AP,
I already did this when
treasurer.
she said, what else
Yeah.
besides us?
And the
Council on Aging.
Would be sort of like a-
So I think that's a grand total of about $1,500, does that sound right?
Their office alone is 13.
Right.
But their office, you guys are the bulk of the postage.
Well, what about the town clerk? What, did she propose any
Census.
increase?
Yeah, and Marlene did.
I mean, you're sending out tax bills, how many?
What did I just
Excise,
do? Water bill,
yeah,
the whole gamut.
5 times, six times a year anyway, with all,
Well, I have it cut down, I only do real estate twice a year to try to cut it, but then you have all the demands.
She actually
Oh, it
saved
was
3,000 by
102.
not having another election.
Oh, 102, so, okay.
That's true. But the collector's office pays for it.
It's not enough there.
22, 713, okay.
I imagine
The
that-
third part-time person, what rate are you using?
I use the 2476. Not a third part-time person, because she said to do it as 3 full-time people.
3 full-time.
So 24 you're using, because the part-time ones are only making 14 something.
Exactly.
Right.
So if you go with that layout, you'll end up with a treasurer collector, and then you'll have an assistant treasurer and an assistant collector. So then the day-to-day work is done by, the assistant treasurer inputs the payroll and that kind of stuff. So if, leaving her still in that role, she wouldn't have to input payroll anymore, you'd have an assistant treasurer to do that. The assistant collector would do all the processing of that, and you'd have one person to oversee and fill in where needed to cover everything, and get the other stuff that's not getting done.
And the reconciliation.
Exactly, that would be the high-level stuff.
That would be, yes. The highlight, I thought is what you were going to say.
High level, high level.
Okay. So,
I did that, okay.
Did you come up with Lydia's?
Sure, I like it. We're guesstimating 1,800 on the postage.
I think that's good. Okay, so, we're
I
adding,
just think they do so much, you guys probably do
Yeah,
a vast
of it.
amount of postage compared to.
So you're adding 1,800 to the treasurer's expense?
I don't know
Yeah.
what Arlene has to
Okay.
do the work.
We can always lend her some of those.
I
Well,
mean, no, we're adding 1,800 to postage.
Cindy,
we have to
your
break it
concern,
out, go and
this,
figure
I
out
just
what
want
we
to
do.
make the money available.
No, I know, I just wanted to
But
kind of
that
follow.
postage is in the expense, comes out of the expense.
Right.
Well, I mean, for the treasurer, it's only 13.
Oh, so where's the,
So we're going like
Oh,
across the board.
So to give some to COA and to give some to the
Okay.
town clerk and.
Did anyone put in a question?
okay, so we're adding,
COA put a request in for it?
Right, because remember they have the
Oh, yeah,
newsletter, they
yeah.
want to send
Yeah,
out
yeah,
one more
yeah.
time.
1,800 postage, and you want to divide that to the treasurer,
Yeah,
COA,
And town clerk.
and town clerk.
And yourself, right? Town administrator? Did you not have a?
She doesn't.
I
No, she said that.
Yeah,
Oh,
postage.
I did not well, I've talked about the postage machine lease.
Okay.
Under, it's the lease that,
COA.
we're
was
not
requesting
covering
a
our
$200
lease
increase.
costs.
So we're
I
up
wasn't
to
talking about
1,500.
postage.
Yeah.
You still have the 3,000 in for tax title?
So COA postage went up $200.
COA 200?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And so the town, if the town clerk went up a couple hundred, that would be, yeah, 17.
So how much for the
I don't know who
treasurer?
else really does much mailing, you know,
How much postage for the treasurer?
Oh, I don't know.
1,300.
1,300?
$20, $30
Okay.
worth of mailing or something, and
Board of Health does a lot of special mail.
do that.
200 for the town clerk. Okay, so I'll add that
For
one
more?
in.
Right?
But then that's
So Sharon, I did update the tax title already.
okay, you did.
It's in, see it on the
You just didn't have it on
screen?
there.
Tax
You didn't have it on
title
the-
would be an additional 3,000.
I didn't highlight it, so I've just been highlighting where we made changes.
I mean, if anyone else overspends their postage fee.
Okay.
Sorry. No.
Oh, why didn't that,
We spent that money, I thought, pretty well.
I lost one.
Well, really.
Okay, so I brought $25,000 out of Marlene's professional services budget.
Yeah.
Then I took 20,000 out to fund 3 full-time positions in treasurer collector at the current rate.
Right,
Then I took $1,800 out for postage.
yep,
Then I took down below $3,000 out for tax title,
yep.
and that leaves us with $11,700.
So, we could, I mean, we're taking 25,000 out of $60,000 line that we don't really know what we need, or we don't, we've put 60,000 in the budget twice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the same thing, we're only gonna take 25 out of that? I think we could take
be
more
more.
than that, for
Yeah.
sure.
Another-
Like, I mean, I could see saving another, yeah, I could see saving 10,
Just con-
$15,000 in there, or
I think
whatever.
we're
Yeah.
assuming that correctly, but just check with Marlene.
Yeah.
Marlene, do you have a moment?
do, yeah, do-
What you're saying is you have $60,000 in both places. You have it in the
Accounting.
accounting and in the town administrator's services,
So-
contracted services line.
so town accountant now has $68,000.
And that's what's needed to pay Bay State.
They needed
Based
62.
on their budget, based on the
Yep,
budget we
okay, yep,
received.
yep.
I reduced my expense. It was 70, it's 7,000 now.
Oh, so we got $70,000. Oh my God, we're rich.
So, but we took 25,000 that we were talking about, maybe some cushion for the account, for
You
accounting,
need to
but we
leave-
added it to the treasurer,
You need to
or
leave
20,
some-
you ended up
need to
saying
leave
20.
some in your line, Marlene, for,
She left 7,000. You think that-
Well,
From 70.
All right, let's see where Marlene is
that's
right now.
my expense, 7,000, the
I know,
town
but we need to leave
administrator's
some
expense.
cushion in there for just.
We can do that. We
Yeah,
can-
we could. but we
I thought
don't
you
need
had said you weren't going to
$40,000.
do that.
She put none in there.
No, I know.
So you do want to have a cushion
I think-
for,
Yeah, I think we talked about some cushion, I just don't know if it needs to be $40,000.
I misunderstood. I thought the old budget was 30,000, not
No.
70.
Yeah,
I thought it was only 60.
60, but
the town administrator's expense was 70,000, and
7 of that's
62
yours.
of that was for Bay State.
So we have $62,000, and I think it makes sense to maybe have,
But Bay
10 or-
State ate it all up,
maybe to have
ate all the
10 to
expense.
$15,000 in there that
Yeah,
you might
maybe even
need,
20.
but 40-something thousand.
No, I agree, I don't think, I think,
So let me
that was
change
my
the
original
summer
point.
I think maybe 25 would be a good number
to leave.
for a cushion, yeah.
With your 7 or without your 7?
Well, all those numbers are accurate.
Um,
It's just, we're now adding to the.
Without
bottom
the
line.
7, without the
I would leave
7.
everything
You
there
need
right
31 anyway.
Right, right, if everybody's comfortable with that.
So let's just try for an experiment. Go ahead, put in, add $15,000. Would be back into that right now, Marlene?
All right, so it'd be 22, right?
22.
All right, and let's just stay right there for a
So
second.
what's
Okay.
7 minus 22?
Can we see the bottom line, Marlene?
Yep. Oops, whoops, whoops. Let me see
'Cause I-
here.
I'm guessing we're like at
The bottom line. Oh, you want to go to the front
$36,000.
page, don't
Yeah,
you?
Yeah.
Go to that,
$37,000, something like that? Does that feel
We're at 69,529.
69?
Something's wrong.
So we went
Okay,
from
let's go back.
70,000 in her budget to 22,000?
Yes.
Because the
So
26,
70 minus 22 is 48.
but you don't have the 26, 4 out of there. You don't have the,
Well, let's
Let's
put
go
all the
back
additions
over and
in there.
look
Let's
at
make
the-
sure she
The
has all the
2% increase
additions
isn't in there.
Right.
Okay, so
So all
town,
the, oh, right, yeah, you don't have that in.
wait a minute, let me just
That's
make
fine.
sure I got numbers added here, right? 96.
Your 69 does not include the $27,000 roughly, or whatever you need for salaries.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing.
Puts
So
you at your 40,
166,
like,
696.
Your does, but
Hers
Marlene,
doesn't.
Hers doesn't, okay.
So this actually is 166, 696.
So
Right.
if you took out 28,000 for salaries, that would leave you with 42, based on what Marlene has, but,
Take 28 out of where?
no.
Oh,
No, you're fine.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure you have all the additions in, Marlene, that we talked about, the same ones that, yeah.
okay, so the 68,000 for the accountant, right? And then
Yes.
the treasurer, we added 20,000 here,
Oh, yep.
right?
Okay, Yep,
Technology, we added 7,000,
yeah,
so 30, okay.
but that was supposed to
And
come out of
then
free cash.
That's coming out of free.
yeah.
the technology, that's going to come, the increase
The
for technology is
workstations
going
are
to come out
coming
of free cash?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go up and put that in. Where is my free cash? Okay, I am in that column. Okay. Where am I? All right, so we're saying 7,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did you add it?
You add it back into the other side? What is that then?
Add it,
You added the 7,000 to the technology line.
right, 7,000, all right, so,
You added it, go over one
You
more.
need to take it out of the one
36?
to the left.
right, so this, oh, so 36,700, we've got 1,000 coming from the enterprise.
Right.
All right, so this should be, yeah, so what did I do here?
Can't tell which line that
Wait a
is.
minute.
It's that one right there.
Yes, so
She's got it.
that line's right there.
700 minus
That's 43, 7?
7. All right, so 195, 396. Is that, no, wait a minute, what am I doing here?
I can't see the headings, but it's the 29,700.
28,700. All right, so this is 28,700 in the raise and appropriate taxation column,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, hang on, I gotta go back to this.
So we have 28,700 from taxation, 7,000 from free cash, and 1,000 from the enterprise. So your total budget, far right column, 36,700. Okay.
That makes sense to you? Did you previously take out the 7,000 from what my eye is looking at is the 36,700?
No.
Right, so
'Cause
this is the
this was-
total
This was
budget.
29,700, Marlene. That number was 29,700.
Right,
And then you add the
29,700,
Plus
and we added
7,000.
7,000, correct?
Right, but now it's coming from free cash, so that needs to go back.
No, it doesn't.
So
No,
36,700 is the total budget.
She's right.
28,700 from
side.
taxation.
Okay. Yep, you're right.
7,000 You wanted 7,000 from free cash?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right, so let's go back now. Was there something else I missed?
So did you do the postage?
We were just, okay, so I haven't done all that.
That's gonna be a little complicated because you have to put it all over the place.
So I need to
Yeah.
add
So we got-
1,300 to the, where's treasurer, to expense.
Really should be under
Right
collector.
Under collector.
I'll put it under collector?
That's what that's
Okay,
supposed to
so
be.
19,516, plus you said 1,300, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's 20,816. Okay, so 816 plus the 38,627, so 59,443.
I was like, why doesn't it all sum for you?
59,443.
Well, you
Okay,
have to
so
hold
wait a
on.
minute.
There were two more columns. Yeah, you'd have to, yeah.
Okay. 3 less 7,500, it's 51,943.
Do a little bit of it.
Yeah.
It's not.
4, 3. Okay.
Makes me nervous with that.
So 59,443, correct?
So that's the
All right, so
1,300,
that's the collect is 13, okay. And then
COA.
200 to COA.
please.
Oh, actually, while we're still in this page, let me take care of the town clerk.
Yeah.
This must be the town clerk here, yeah.
Right there.
Wait, why does that say?
What's that note, X?
Yeah, I'm looking at that town administration. Oh, that means
Doesn't
that, I put the footnote in there. Expenses 9,200 and 1,000 for certification, okay.
Oh,
All right. So 10,206, just want to make sure all the numbers are correct, and 10,406. 10,406.
do you want to highlight that,
Yes.
just so you know?
Thank you for reminding me of that.
So she just added,
What was the other one we just did?
She has
yesterday?
$200 to that. Or no.
Okay, so I just added
So
200,
is
right?
that 23,000 the
55,
same as the 25,000?
302.
Yeah, it's the additional, because I misunderstood. So we were moving 48,000 out of Marlene's budget.
55,502.
Because she had 62
Right.
extra in
And
there.
I misunderstood.
Okay.
Okay, 55, okay.
Thanks for bringing that up,
And
Sean.
re-highlight
I
that, I
misunderstood.
did highlight that. And then we're doing
COA.
200 for COA. All right, let me go to that one.
what did you just add for the clerk?
200
Yeah.
and COA.
Good. Treasurer, collector, 13, COA, 200, that's 15, plus the clerk,
17.
17, we have 18 up there.
We made up. We're pretty darn close,
Yeah.
though.
How does sewer get funded? We, how's that
Which
work?
part of it?
The negative part. How do we do that?
Well, the
Transfer.
taxation,
Right, but is that in the budget? Or how does that work?
it's budgeted.
Oh, okay.
It's just, you know what I mean, it comes across the line, so some of the things might come out of revenue,
Okay,
but
But not much.
not, yeah,
Okay.
not enough. yeah.
All right, just checking.
And then all the capital things just are kind of on the side too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not-
Okay.
The loan payments aren't being credited back to sewer, they're just coming out of taxation for the most part.
Okay.
All right.
Like right here. So see, these things are coming, some of these things are coming out of enterprise funds, so
Yeah.
like, you know, but,
But it's not much.
yeah. And-
And
Well,
12,
but this is just the general operating
Oh, okay.
stuff, you know what I
Okay.
mean? But like, probably when you get more into it, there's more money coming out, but.
All right.
So if we're going to use these actual numbers, there's some corrections that need to be made.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Tell me
So
about
what do you
that.
have now, Marlene?
So we're at 52,829.
Not 11?
188.
Yeah.
No,
188.
and we need to take out. yeah,
Oh,
we
is there
need to take
another
out
Well, the problem is that 2%
27,000.
number isn't
We-
right.
Yeah.
The 2% salary
But
is
the-
somewhere
but the-
around
Oh, we
27,000.
gotta do the
Yeah.
2%.
So if we just hold
26,000.
27,000 aside
It's
somehow.
just the
Okay.
addition after that.
Yep.
It doesn't.
That'll be the real, I think that'll be the real number.
Right.
You think this might be 27?
Well, I'm just using it as a round number, you know, I mean, if it's,
Make the math easier.
yeah. If it's 26, 6 something or whatever, close enough.
Just right, yeah.
So what else do we have in there? So that leaves us with,
16,000.
what's the latest one? Well, let's 52,000, right? 52,000, I can't, oh,
829.
829, Marlene?
Diane, how am I doing?
29.
So minus 27,000, right?
27,000, it's 25,000 bucks.
Yeah, that's what I came up
So
with.
what if we, are we gonna put something towards the grinding thing?
So, so I need to add,
Yeah.
we were talking about the I earlier.
Oh, hang on, that's free cash, though.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right.
let's not get that
Okay.
yet.
Yeah, that's right. I need to add those, but.
You're good?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would, yeah. So can we cover some of that?
Yeah.
What do you think? For a number?
Betsy, did you just fund
Yeah.
something else?
No, I fixed my math.
Oh,
So what
okay.
I was adjusting was, I think the 2% increases for non-union employees is gonna be a little higher
Okay.
because if we're operating 3 40-hour-a-week positions in the treasurer collector.
Oh, right,
we need a little
right.
more money.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Also gonna affect benefits slightly. but-
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give them these rest
Um,
reserved.
So,
Insurance.
I don't, you and Diane weren't here at the last meeting. One of the things I had suggested coming from free cash was the possibility of the town putting money in a healthcare reimbursement arrangement. And it can be any amount, there's no fixed amount. It costs about, I think, $1,200 a year to administer. And whether we might want to put money into an account for town employees to use towards out-of-pocket healthcare expenses, like co-payments and,
You mean like a HSCA, like a healthcare spending account?
yes, except the town pays for it.
Right.
It's not deducted from the employee's pay, it's funded by the town.
So do we want to add that to the health insurance budget?
Well, I wanted to take it out of free cash. Oh, okay. But that's.
So that would be a funding source. So some of it would come from taxation and then, or
And what
the amount
you
you're
two weren't
talking
here
about.
last week, what I was saying about that is that is not that number does not have to be repeated every year. You put in as much money as you feel the town can afford to do each year.
Yeah.
And the reason I suggested it was that I don't think, given that we don't even have the money to increase the payment towards premiums, 5% for the current level of participation. We don't have that much money. So I was looking at a way to provide additional health insurance support coming out of the free cash side through this healthcare arrangement, which I think I gave you handouts about, remember that?
So then you would just have a level amount for the entire,
For all employees, and it would be divided equally among all employees.
so it doesn't matter who adds to the insurance and who doesn't, who takes the insurance and who doesn't?
No, it would be available to all employees. Edwina, am I guessing correctly, there are about 100 town employees?
No,
How many are there?
there's about 102 people on health insurance.
Okay, how
We
many
have
town
a-
employees are there?
We have usually every payroll about roughly averaging 150
Thank you.
upwards.
So for each
Okay.
employee to get $100, you'd have to put in $15,000.
That's it.
Okay.
I guess my question is, how helpful is that? But,
It's a fair question. I just,
I mean,
you know,
I would actually, I mean, I'm just wondering, I'm wondering why we don't have healthcare spending accounts.
We are having, we're gonna have.
Oh, you're gonna-
We are
we're
going to do
starting
that
flexible
too.
spending.
Yeah.
Because that actually would save you, I mean, I just did mine yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, not exactly, but a $2,000 contribution, if you have that much medical, it saves you about $700 a year.
Exactly.
you know.
But the town, the one that we're doing, it's not matched, it's all
No,
just.
the one I'm doing is not matched
Okay.
either, but if you figure you pay about 30% tax rate, effective tax
No, we
rate,
do, yeah,
it saves you a significant amount of money.
I 100% agree.
And it costs pennies for I mean, in the state one, the employees pay for the administration of it, and it costs like, I don't know, $1.12 a pay period or something. It's a pretty small amount of money.
Well, ours
for-
is being funded, the town's not paying anything is the
Yeah,
deal I look at.
yeah, that's what
so.
we do too, so, and it doesn't cost hardly anything to do the administration.
How would you feel about our putting $16,000 out of free cash into health insurance? And that way, we don't have to decide this minute whether it's gonna happen or not, but the money's available
There,
to make it happen? If we wanted to?
Most of the comments I had heard was that they were concerned was that we wouldn't do it the next year and that they'd get, you know, I think that got mentioned, but I heard it reiterated to me offline was that,
Chance that we would.
you know,
Yes, there's that possibility.
you know, oh, I get used to having this $100 and the next year I don't have it, that they'd, you know,
But I'd always rather have some money than no money, no?
Mostly, yes.
I mean,
Yeah. Although, you know, does it feel different, you know, when you're not getting it, that's true, I mean.
Yeah,
it's-
no, it does.
Once you start getting it, it feels like
Yes.
you're
It's hard,
entitled
yeah.
to getting it.
I
you know,
understand.
that is-
and you do all the work to set it up and then
Yeah.
if you don't,
I understand.
I don't have an opinion really other way. That was just the feedback given. My only feedback was what I said, is how much is the enrollment? You know, how much does it, how much work is on us to do it? And you said
Yeah.
minimal, so,
1,200.
no, how much work it was for us, not how much it cost us.
That's an additional dollars.
Correct.
Right, I know, it's
Is
not
it-
even close. Thank you.
Would you have to, and you actually would have to have the expenses to get it, of course.
Yes, you have to submit, the employee submits receipts and gets reimbursed by the third-party administrator. I just want to kind of keep that possibility alive.
Well, I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I would just say, given the structure of the plan that we have,
Mhm.
that's like the least expensive part of the whole thing to begin with, in a way. I
Okay.
mean, the plan has very few co-pays and deductibles to begin with. You know what I mean? So just speaking strictly like sort of generic sort of public policy point of view, I mean, there's all kinds of arguments to be made about how these plans should be structured, but this plan already benefits people who are using the insurance a lot over people who are not. And-
Okay.
And fair or not, whatever, I mean,
That's how it
you could do
works.
it anyway, but that is how it works, based on the structure of the plan. And so this does more of that same thing in a
Right,
way.
if
Like,
you're
so if you
using
don't
it,
use it at all,
It's
you
no
don't get
help.
the $100.
Right, it's no help.
So that's my only thing about, just if you had a plan that was really weighted the other way, then
Then this would be helpful.
this would definitely be more, making it more equitable in a
Okay.
way. But, you know, I mean, I don't know, that's just one consideration. I don't think it's like a definitive statement about it in any way.
Well, would it be difficult for people to come up with those expenses if there are no co-pays and no deductibles?
Well, I mean,
Oh, there are co-pays.
there are now, right?
There will be,
There
there are
will
not
be,
currently.
there are none really now.
But there will be.
There will be, correct.
Sharon what is the start date of that plan that you brought?
July.
Okay, so we haven't experienced that yet.
We haven't
either.
experienced that yet.
That'll be a good positive.
I don't think it's super hard to develop $100 worth of expenses. I mean,
No.
If you're talking a significant amount of money. then
I just
yeah.
thought if we had it set up, then each year the town, I understand what you're saying, Sean, which is what employees really need is help with the premiums.
Right.
I get it. I just, with $32,000 left,
Right.
um,
Well-
And 100 employees who are taking insurance, that's not going to go very far.
it's not gonna go very far.
Well, yeah, well, you're talking about taking out free cash, though.
I was talking about funding a healthcare reimbursement arrangement out of free cash, not a premium contribution. A premium contribution would have to come out of taxation because it's a
Right.
commitment forever.
Right. Yeah. Well, then that
So
wouldn't go-
just to raise it 5% for the current level of participation is $64,000.
Right. How many people we have?
100.
100 something?
104.
150 employees, right?
But
On the
102
insurance,
on
receiving insurance benefits,
It'd
yeah.
have to be divided by the 30,000, is that what you're saying?
No, I'll show you,
Well, it
Ed.
depends on what you do.
So, if we, right now, this is what the town pays.
Right.
If we wanted to increase the town's contribution to 55% for the current level of participation, we would have to find an additional
Correct.
$64,000.
Correct.
So,
But
So,
what we're talking about more is the idea, could you set up something, you could set up something where people, where the town could contribute any amount of money theoretically, reasonable amount of money.
right,
And then employees could submit receipts for the costs of non-covered care.
Right.
So co-pays and deductibles, that would, then they could get money back based on the amount of money that's in the pot.
right,
Not based on an entitlement, but based on a funding.
right. Something we make, a decision we make each year about how much money we're gonna put into that pot. Thank you.
but you'd have to divide it, what I was trying to say, is you'd have to divide your money in a pot by,
By
The
150
104.
employees,
Well,
no.
you'd have, yeah, you'd have to make it
That's the point I'm
possible,
trying to make.
you'd have to make it possible for them to get a base amount of money. I mean, you'd have to cap it based on a maximum amount.
Right.
And then, but not everyone would get that. Presumably, there would be money left.
Right, not
at the
everybody
end of
would
the
use
year,
it, probably.
Because not every single person
Would use it, right.
Some people maybe only would come up with $50 in
Right.
co-pays, and then they would, I mean, if you don't really use the if you only go to the doctor once a year, and the copay is $20, and you don't
would
take
that
any
carry over?
medication.
Let's say everybody had access to $300, right, each year, but they don't use it, does it carry over?
It doesn't carry over,
No.
no, it's,
doesn't
because
carry
it's part of
It
our
comes
budget, it
from-
zeroes
right,
out.
You have to, yeah, use it.
It just wouldn't be fun.
It goes back into free cash,
So somebody could use theirs and others don't, and then
right.
Yeah.
there's no,
I guess the question that was raised about it, though, is that if you do it once,
People will
what's gonna be the
expect.
expectation next year, and
Right.
the year after that? It doesn't really,
Can we circle back to this?
Well, we can, as I said, we don't need to decide it now, I was just concerned about making money available, but in theory, you could institute it later, and then at some special town meeting, move money over.
I mean, first the town has to vote to allow it.
No, no, this
No,
is
not
a
this
separate
part.
thing, this is a separate thing,
If we were talking about the increase, it would have to vote to increase above 50%.
Right.
Correct.
but this is a separate
we're
pot.
not, yeah, we're not really talking about that, because we don't have the money to do that.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
The town could still.
I mean, we could vote to give the authority to do it.
Correct.
Well, I
Right.
think that is being proposed,
Yeah,
right?
we don't actually have the money to do it.
Right. Okay, so,
Excuse me, could I bring up one more thing? I just remembered from last week, because Daryl's not here.
yeah,
I had brought up the animal control officer salary, and Daryl said he would be speaking to him, and he'd come back this week, but he's not here, so I didn't know if that
oh,
was still on
right.
the table as a possibility, because I think it's what, $1,540, and Marlene did a chart with the region, you know, what people in the region do make as animal control officers.
So what was the estimate?
I heard 1,400, but.
I didn't
Nobody
bring
gets
that with,
that.
right,
It's
it is, it's 1,400.
That's what he's making now.
Like
There's
There's the
livestock
dog
years.
officer and the animal control officer. The animal inspector is paid $14.80, and I believe as animal control officer, it's the same number.
Also, I talked to Lydia about the possibility, if
have
it's
that with me,
possible, each fine, she has like 25 people out there, they get a $50 fine. Is it possible for, if the officer serves the summons, he gets like 25 out of that? You know, so he could actually, in addition to the increase, he could actually get some extra money that way, which might give him an incentive to
Collect the late fees.
collect the money, the late fees.
Want my guess
That
on
sounds
that?
really,
Well-
yeah, you can't do it.
That
yeah.
you absolutely cannot do that unless it's allowed by statute, so.
If he hires a sheriff to serve, it's $40.
The sheriff,
That's
yeah,
under
but the sheriff is.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
licensed to do
And
civil
it's
process.
actually not anymore. The sheriffs don't make any money, don't get paid based on civil process service
got that,
anymore.
didn't I?
They're state employees. back from about
It was in free cash.
300 years ago until
Yes, it's
50
there.
years ago, they did
Information with me.
get, that's how they got
Yeah.
paid.
I had emailed it
Yeah.
to
But
you,
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying, it has to, I think it has to be in statute
Yeah.
for
I
you to be
filed
able
it
to
back
do
in
that.
But
You
thank
should
you for
ask the
finding it.
attorney, but
Bring it up so they can
I don't think that, there's a reason why they don't do that. There's a reason why we don't say to the town police,
don't have bounty
we'll
hunters?"
give you $25 for every speeding ticket you write, because then they'd be, writing 1.5 million speeding
Yeah.
tickets, right? So there's a reason why we don't do that, and my guess is that the times when it has happened, like with the sheriff is a good example, it was statutory. There was a statutory allowance for that in state law. I don't think you can just do that.
I asked Woody to look into it, to see if it's a possibility, or what would have to be done, or why we could do it, or why
Especially
we
with
can't do
fines.
it, or. I'm just
Like-
curious.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're right, civil process, was like that, it may still be for the people doing the actual service, is probably still like
Some of it
that,
is.
yeah, but I think it's a statutory thing that
While
allows.
you were talking about the animal care, did you guys entertain the police chief's request? Was
For,
that in the
We-
budget?
Well, I had spoke with the police chief last week. He said he could live with the expenses,
I remember.
but he would be concerned about the salaries if that was level funded. Because I was asked to talk to him whether he could live with a level funded budget.
But his salaries are getting a 2%.
He,
He asked for
actually,
more.
he added more than 2% to his staff, a requested salary budget. It's 5.45,
4.45, I
Yeah, but you
believe.
can't,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, you can't, we can't just take that, you know.
Well, everybody would make that request.
Well, right, I mean, that's specifically why we said submit a level funded budget, because otherwise,
Everybody would make that
right,
request.
next year, someone's gonna come at 10, someone's gonna
Right.
come at 15, and say, well, let them knock me down to 5, like that's,
Okay. All right, so back to brush.
Back to what?
brush,
Oh,
brush grinding.
What is it per, Phil? You said it was 16,000 was 3 times a year?
No, we grind the brush 3 times a year. The total cost for the year is 16,000.
Right, so that
So-
covers 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Could we knock it back to 2 times a year?
You do whatever you want, as long as there's something in there.
Okay,
Let's do that.
so that 2/3,
Yeah.
which is $10,000?
Roughly, 10,500 or something
Did you catch that, Marlene?
so we're going to add
like that.
10,000 to the 36. Okay.
To the 36? What 36?
The tree warden's budget?
Yeah, it's under tree warden.
Is that in the tree warden's budget? Okay.
Bill, is that the one you had to do twice this year instead of once? The grind you're talking about?
We usually do it 3 times.
Oh, that many?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Marlene,
So Betsy,
are we on the same page?
That would be awesome.
It's green, it's not in the red or the black, it's green. What does that
What's
mean? What does that mean?
It's a positive number.
What is your front page number?
I'm heading right there, okay.
I think she was waiting to give us the suspense.
Hers should be like
Winner is-
52,000.
So we got to take, remember, we got to take 27 off of
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Right,
Because it used to be in the fall.
and so,
42,829.
Because this was the
15,829.
when he did one emergency management.
close enough, right?
Yeah,
It was
that's
supposed to be.
Okay, let's go back to free cash. Anything over here that, Bill, from your capital committee meetings?
Yeah, we got a ton.
Well, we did the study, right?
So the inflow and if, so we added, that's being recommended for 50,000 in the ambulance paramedic equipment for 13.
Yep. So the other thing was the school vehicle.
Oh, the van.
And the
Okay,
ambulance.
Phil, now you're on. If he needs to be.
The school sent the email around that they will take care of it within their budget with no increase. The
Well, we
lease.
love that, don't we?
We sure did. So
Okay.
that cost is 13, it's a 5-year lease for, well, it can vary, because if you don't do the ambulance, you get a little bit off. But I know it costs you a little more. So it's $13,076 a year.
Okay.
So they
So we'll be
said,
adding that to the
they
lease
said they can
budget
fund it
line,
out
or
of
they're
their
gonna take it out?
existing budget.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's gonna take it out of school choice, or if he's gonna take it out of the operating budget.
Okay.
So I don't think you really, I think they just need approval for the 5-year lease for the building.
Okay. And what was the deal with ambulance? If we considered leasing that, how much?
The ambulance is a 7-year lease at 51,
Your lease requires town
or
meeting.
51,000 a year.
Greater than 3 years.
But he said that
In addition to what we're paying now?
you don't pay nothing now.
Yeah, okay.
There's no lease on the ambulance.
So, yes, in addition.
It would be an addition.
Oh, yeah, in addition to nothing, it would definitely be
It's more than nothing.
Phil, with the school van, did you mean that they were gonna absorb it this year or all 5 years? Or is that just this year we're talking?
No, it'll be a 5-year lease.
So they'd absorb it all 5 years, they're saying?
Yes,
Oh, I see. I don't know if you meant this for this budget.
that was my understanding from
That was my
what
understanding,
the
too.
superintendent
I
had
remember
sent
now.
out.
I'll let John know, we'll have to add an article to the warrant,
Correct.
a lease greater than 3 years.
I can give you the information for what it is.
Yeah, he wrote a very clear email. Thank you for thinking of that, though. We do need a warrant. Okay, what are we gonna do about ambulances? Oops.
What's the cost?
70,000 a year?
51.
51 a year.
And then he said, I remember the last meeting that I attended when he was here, he said that he had some money in ambulance
Trust.
revenue trust to buy down, and the question from Darrell was, if we have, say, $20,000 in that, can we knock the ambulance from 300 to 280, and he said, and yes, you
And the
can.
answer was yes, but
Yes.
what's the lease on 280,000?
I didn't figure that out.
Yeah, we have to know exactly how much we're gonna contribute, right?
Right.
And that's,
Yeah, we don't know. Well,
Although, my understanding from Stephen was that ambulance revenue was going up.
correct.
Right, he talked about maybe using
Right,
some of that for it.
Yeah, to offset the cost of an annual lease.
Right. right.
That was my understanding.
That was my understanding.
So say if the lease was 50 and he contributed 10,
Right.
I mean, that would leave you up for 40.
40.
We need to be sure, though, what he can cover.
We need to be sure.
and we need to know exactly what he can put down for down payment, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Right.
I think it was 20,
I
as he
thought it
was
was
talking
20.
about.
And that would be its own lease, right, Phil?
It's own
Is that-
lease because it's a 7-year lease.
It's a separate thing.
That one, too.
And at the end, we own it,
Yeah.
Yes.
so these are kind of like
Their purchases.
personal loan, they're like secured loans essentially, yeah.
So in that case, would you be selling the other one? The one with the 38,000 miles on it? Would you be able to get something for that?
That's a good question. Could you get trade-in on that?
Because it's in very good shape.
I heard the shock absorbers were gone.
When I met with him on the 19th, he just said that the only thing is, he said it was a bumpy ride and he didn't like the floor. But the mechanic had said, I met with the mechanic also, and he said it was in excellent shape, so. So I'm wondering if you're gonna get something, because we did this with the police cruisers too.
17 years old.
Where would you get the money from? You know, I mean,
Free
would you,
cash.
out of free cash, what, put into the operating
Well,
budget?
that's the problem.
You know, because if you take it out of free cash one year, then
What are
you
you
have
gonna
to
do
fund
next
it the
year?
next year.
Right,
Yeah.
no, I
You know,
know.
that's why a lease should be an operating.
I know.
budget.
No, I'm not excited about that. Well, we're down, Marlene, I can't read that, I'm sorry. What did you say we were at on our levy limit?
42, actually, it was 15,829. That's with the,
I guess we're
the
kind of done there.
2% COLA, the
We're
27,
done.
yeah.
I mean, unless, yeah, because you're gonna need some money as we go through this to
You just
Fix
have to
things.
fix little
wait and see how it
things.
plays out with the lease.
Are we sure there's no snow and ice?
Yeah, that did strike me as odd, but
Daryl keeps telling me every time he sees me, don't forget snow and ice.
well, it's because we.
Well, there will be a snow and ice deficit for fiscal year 19. There will be. We already know
We'll just pay
that.
in
Right
time.
now, we're estimating it
But
at
don't we have to pay
90,000.
18s now?
So they're
Right,
saying that
they already took it
the 18
out.
figure of 60 some odd
The
came
18
out
for-
of free cash before we got our 322 number.
Oh,
Because we're so late in the process.
oh, they already took it.
Right.
When the auditors came,
Thank you
we
for,
already
okay,
knew
I
the
didn't
number.
understand. Thank you.
Right.
Yes, if we had free
For
cash 4 months
18s.
ago.
Okay, okay,
We
then
wouldn't
you
have
would have had to
known, yes,
deduct it.
right.
So you and I had the same question. Like,
Yes.
okay, all right.
So you're talking about fiscal year
Yeah, I'm
18
just- yeah, I'm
snow and
talking
ice.
about
Okay,
fiscal year 18.
19,
Well,
okay.
we were talking about, yeah.
Okay, I'm good now. I just wanted to make sure we didn't forget. Any
Yeah,
other?
normally you wouldn't have it.
Right.
Because when you got the free cash number,
It would be
it would have been
months
it
ago,
would have been a couple months
Right.
ago, and you would still be wondering.
worrying
yeah.
what the winter would
Or
bring.
you wouldn't have put it on the recap in the
Right,
first
okay.
place, yeah.
So what do we think about this $64,000 in free cash?
I'm sure we'll find some things to spend that on.
Well, what's on the list that's not,
It's not an ambulance.
yeah, what's affordable and needed?
Don't we need anything to, for all of the deficit funds that we need to move things around?
Well.
Is
do
that
we-
done?
Do we have them?
I mean,
Have we closed out
can't we assume that there's
18?
going to be some
Well, then
shifting
you're saying
around?
putting it in stabilization for later?
Well, wasn't the idea to take that out of free cash?
Yes, it is,
Yes,
but,
but you have to know.
but
you
what
don't
are
know
the
what it is.
deficits? We don't know what they are.
What else?
Would we know? in
2
a
weeks
week?
from now?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with.
That's why you-
We shouldn't put it in stabilization if we intend to use it
To pay
to
our
fix
deficits.
prior year deficiencies now.
What do you think,
Because that'll just
Marlene?
make it impossible.
Do you think they're gonna be, we're gonna be moving money out of free cash to cover FY '18 deficits?
Yes, I would recommend that that's what we do. Oh, Phil, so I want to talk to.
just gonna say something.
Matter of
to
fact, I
you.
just thought when I was looking at the water and sewer, so actually, retained earnings, water and sewer retained earnings for 18 does have a positive number. So we could maybe use some of that to fund the 100,000.
But what about the other thing that they were talking about, that was a shortage in the sewer?
Right, well, didn't he say there was a shortage on the sewer side for 18? But then there must have been enough on the they must have found enough on the water to cover it. Because he's saying for fiscal year 18, there is retained earnings,
Really?
a positive retained earnings number. But that has to be certified with free cash.
But we would throw that at the water break, right? Do you know how much it might be?
He didn't say.
Was that part of the estimated free cash number that he gave you?
No, that's a separate number from free cash.
Okay.
Separate number. So
Any
I'll
other
ask him.
anticipated deficits that Justin's been talking about?
So we know that for 18,
Yep, 18.
there's $24,403 in.
Got that.
Yep, we have that up there. The
your
$3,000 for DPW, the $258 for the school, and then the $60,440 for the sped.
Yeah.
And that's,
So Marlene, do you think by next week, FY '18 numbers will be relatively,
absolutely.
So if we have any
Everything
last-
should be tied up by Thursday
okay,
this week.
So we should probably wait till next meeting to touch anything in free cash now until we
okay.
know, yeah.
And I can review my budget numbers, so that the 2% part and the full-time, and get all those solid.
That would be helpful, just to make sure we've got the right
Yeah.
numbers.
If really what we're talking about is how to spend $64,000, we can do that
Quickly.
the night of town meeting if we
All you
have
gotta do is look over your shoulder, I'll smell.
Yeah.
We appreciate
We have a volunteer.
your enthusiasm.
You know what I mean, like there's,
Lots of stuff.
yeah,
Don't forget who gave you the 2%.
that's it.
We appreciate that.
Fire station,
Oh, the library, look at that.
library floor
Oh,
coverings.
school safety, thank you for
It's
reminding me.
$140,000.
Yeah, man, yeah.
What about
But it was
school
broken
safety?
down.
It is broken down, and I have that broken down.
And what are those
I
numbers?
don't think it's like à la carte.
It isn't?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's probably more expensive if you just do.
Well,
small
no,
bits.
because John told me he was looking to get a grant for the locks.
Right, and that was 28,000, so a grant towards that 28,000.
Can you make a note
school safety expenses, so I'm not the only one writing this down.
And that's coming out of the operating budget or free cash? Free cash.
There was a method to the madness. Now I've lost the method. Bummer. Yeah, I mean, it's really an all or nothing, really. Yeah. It's not something we can break apart. Yeah,
All
there's-
right,
there's
well,
nothing else
I
to
don't
say
have any
about it.
clever ideas at the moment.
Yeah. But it's something that, you know, 4 departments wanted.
Well, the problem, I mean,
Here's the breakdown.
the problem is you've got like $250,000 worth of stuff that you have to do.
There's the breakdown there.
Thank
I mean,
you.
So 100.
Intercom,
Yeah. Locks, intercom.
locks,
And that was the part right there, the 28,000 that John said he was gonna get a grant for, or partial.
right. So you might be able to go that far.
Mm-hmm.
That would be too far.
You do everything else outside of that
Right.
alarm system, clearly.
Okay. I can ask John if if that would be something we should consider.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the community preservation fund?
What about it?
For school?
No, don't we owe them $40,000?
Oh, we did that, we took care of that last
We
year.
did?
Oh, yeah. We ended up taking care of that in June.
I'm so excited.
Didn't we do that in June of last year? It was
Uh,
special. We did.
We did?
I don't remember that.
I don't either. I thought we told them we'd love to pay you, but
Well, we can't.
we can't.
Decided not to, it was an article to.
It
So I
was.
know actually that night of the town meeting, because we tabled some articles because we
Did we?
didn't have enough
I don't
money.
think we did it. Do you remember?
I don't, well, you know what, let me see if I can, 1 second.
I was fine having forgotten.
I'm going to look.
Well, the reason I don't think we did was because Bob Wagner
I was sure
cornered
we
me at a
did.
party recently.
Said I
Said
want my
something-
$40,000.
Said he wanted his $40,000.
Bump you with him and be like, oh, look at my cute puppy, and distract him.
I tried that. He said, yeah, nice dog, I want $40,000.
Voted, what was voted?
So the 40,000 was borrowed?
Not exactly.
No.
Sorta.
So
And then
It
there
was
was,
charged to the incorrect account.
okay.
and when they wanted it back, we were like, so sorry, but we already spent
We
it.
already spent it. So inadvertently borrowed.
So you're saying it was voted to put it back into the
Yeah, we
funds,
we
right?
didn't do
I
it.
thought I had a copy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I
right.
had the town clerk's
Okay, and then the other-
certified votes, but I don't have it here.
You're right.
And what did you say about the 350th committee?
They want
There's an article on the warrant, they're
$25,000.
looking for 25,000.
Again?
For what? I mean, out of what?
3
Towards,
years,
they wanted, they were
2020.
requesting 25,000 over the next 3 years. We gave them 10.
How do they want to
last
fund it? That was what I'm saying.
Well, that's why we're here, to talk about it.
That was one of those things, they said if they made money, the town would get it back.
Well, that was the thing. I thought we were just giving them seed money and they were going to get,
Getting sponsors.
they were gonna pay
and-
for it themselves.
Well, they wanted, they were asking for money to get them started. And
Right.
then they were going to do some fundraising.
Right.
Initially, when they had made the presentation requesting the 25,000,
Right.
they said they would ask for 25 for 2 additional years as
For
well.
3 years running?
Right.
Oh,
Why isn't this
By the
open?
time we get to the third,
It's next year. Where do you need 3 years?
Well, this would be, so we gave them 10,000 last year, this would be the second year, and then they'd be looking for another 25,000 next year during the anniversary year.
and again, I don't understand whether that's money we're spending or money we're fronting.
it's money we're spending.
There was a fund set up,
I mean,
That's what I wanted to
I
know.
mean, seriously, in the third year, when you're actually having the event that
Then you're
costs the
spending
money,
Right.
if you, I mean, I presume most events sell tickets in advance.
They're doing a year's worth of events, however it starts New Year's Eve, so that's why
Right,
we're
but
looking
if you're
halfway through for
doing
the
it,
third
you know what I
year.
mean, like, if you're
Yeah.
in the year, I'm not talking about, oh, I need $10,000 now so I can book the band for a year from now.
Right.
Once you get into that year, you're not already selling whatever you're selling at that point. Like, I don't understand that part, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna sell the stuff 4 or 5 months out, right? Like the sponsorships or whatever it is.
Right.
You're not waiting till after the event, presumably.
Right.
So what do you need the third year's worth of money for? I mean, presumably that's especially if you intend to pay back the 2 prior years.
Yeah, you wouldn't want a third year.
You really ought to have that money in hand by then, don't you think? I mean, I don't know, I don't understand how that would,
I don't understand that.
if I didn't have any money in hand going into the third year and I had already spent $50,000, I don't know. What are my chances of getting that back, I guess, I don't know.
I will check on that 40 tomorrow. The 40,000.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
asking. Okay. Are we done for now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Do
just
you have a
familiar
meeting
with-
posted next week?
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
Okay.
The 7th, correct?
So Marlene, you're going to get a better, a more accurate number for the 2% increase.
Yes, I will.
Okay. You want to make a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's it. Wow. That's all she wrote.
Oh, we need a motion to adjourn. I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Do we have an,
Wait a minute, we have an item. Why don't we have these clear out, take 5. Okay, we're back, and we're done with the Finance Committee for tonight. We'll be meeting with them again, May 7th, to try to, next Tuesday, to finalize, hopefully, get all our numbers and free cash exact and all that, so. All right, so.
we really should be, the board should be voting, the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen will be voting next week to vote on a budget for fiscal year 20.
Yes,
Okay.
and hopefully all our numbers are finally arrived at.
Discussions earlier, with the COA, the van for the school, and that's going to be a 5-year lease, so we need to add an article to the warrant. Anything at least greater than 3 years requires town meeting authorization.
Even if it's within their budget,
Even if they're funding it,
Okay.
it's the lease,
that's fine.
that
Well,
the
you got
year,
one
the
article.
number of years of the lease.
You took one article out, you can put one back in, right?
it's not too late to add it, or it is?
No, because you haven't signed well, you did approve it tonight, but I will update it and ask the board to approve it next week.
Okay,
Actually, you know what, I just realized, it has to be posted on the 7th. The warrant has to be posted no later than the 7th. Yeah. So if you'd like to
we can vote on it.
recommend adding that article and re-vote it,
So I can make a motion to amend
the
the
annual town meeting
annual
warrant.
town meeting warrant to include the lease of the van for the school
School.
because it's 5 years, and by law, we have to put it on as
Correct.
an article.
More than 3.
So motion made.
Could I just also add one more thing? I'm sorry.
Oh, can we make a
so-
motion on that? I made a
Well,
motion on
if
that.
you're going to consider leasing the ambulance, Phil said that's a 7-year lease. If that is going to go through, we would have to add an article for the ambulance as well.
But we don't have that. I thought they said they were going to be discussing the leases in June, but I don't know if that means after this action or before. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if they expected this to go through the finance committee, and then they were going to discuss them, but they talked about meeting in June to discuss all leases and the whole lease program. But I don't know if they expected this to,
Okay.
be prior or
Well,
not,
why
or if they
don't
want to
we just
discuss
get
everything.
the school van on there?
I don't
and
know.
then if the decision to lease an ambulance,
I think it was just all leases they were talking about. So I don't know if they're talking about the program or individual things.
yeah.
I don't know either. I mean, we'll make a motion on the school,
Mhm.
but I mean, if they're going ahead with the ambulance, then we'd have to, we could say the motion pending approval
Right,
of
if we have a
everybody,
later
right?
town meeting, then we'll put an article on the warrant for that.
How's that sound? Okay.
I think it covered both ways if you do that.
What's that?
If you put them both.
Oh,
Saying
so
pending.
do add.
So I'm saying, he said pending. So if
Mhm.
you do that, it gives the finance committee room to do what they want to do with it.
How's that sound?
I
That
think
sound
sounds
fair?
good. That way they have
Okay.
the option.
Mhm.
So motion made,
Second.
seconded. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries to include those two pending approval, right?
Okay.
So,
Yes.
we have anything else that we have to discuss before May 7th?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, but the action we took tonight was due to state law. Anything that leases over 3 years, we have to bring to town meeting,
Well,
correct?
that's always been a statute, greater than 3 years. But I did actually mention to the treasurer's office last week, the auditors mentioned to me that effective February of this year, any capital leases will require bond counsel to review. I talked to town council about it. He's not aware of it. I told him I would follow up with the auditors about that. He said the public sector there was a change, but he doesn't believe that it affects municipalities.
Okay,
I'm all good.
you're good?
Just one question. What did you say was the update on the audit itself? didn't
So this morning, Tony Roselli expects a draft of the audit report tomorrow. And he said that he feels he could turn it around on Thursday and have a copy of it to the town.
Oh, okay, great.
So by next meeting with the finance
next meeting,
committee, we should have all the
Yes.
information we
Mm-hmm,
have been hoping to get.
right. I mean, unless do you have something different? Okay, I thought I heard you say something, so I thought, oh, maybe there was some different information.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Do I have a motion?
You have a motion to?
Motion
Adjourn.
made to adjourn, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night.